3 years ago, I had an innocent girlfriend at school. Then, we had a conflict, and I didn't make up with her. During our silent quarrel, I saw her happily chatting with other boys, but I didn't ask her about it. The next day, I was assigned to a secret research project that required me to change my name. 3 years later, after successfully completing the national research mission, I returned. I desperately wanted to ask her if we had ever broken up. So, when I found out Tadhan was a sophomore at Jungthan University, even though I could have become a professor at Thanho University, I decided to enroll at Jungthan University as a male freshman. At the freshman reception desk of Jungthan University, Tadhan sat quietly in her chair. Her mere presence attracted the admiring gazes of many passing freshmen. Beside her, her best friend, Kyu, smiled at her. Tadhan, you truly live up to your title as the #1 campus belle of Jungthan University. Look at all the new guys, they can't take their eyes off you. They'll definitely be trying to find out more about you. Tadhan's expression was calm. Let them. I'm not interested in dating anyway. Compared to going out with them, isn't it more romantic to enjoy the evening breeze by the lake with good friends like you, or grab late-night snacks at the North Gate? However, as she finished speaking, Tadhan's eyes darkened. She had said these same words to that boy back then. It was a pity that now, among the bustling crowds on campus, though some had eyes like his, some had a nose like his, and some even spoke like him, none of them were him. Seeing Tadhan's somber expression, Kyu immediately grew concerned. Tadhan, don't tell me you're still thinking about that boyfriend who disappeared 3 years ago. 3 years have passed. Tadhan understood her roommate's good intentions and forced a relaxed smile. It's nothing to dwell on. It's just that I can't bring myself to like anyone else right now. After speaking, she pulled Kyu's arm, urging her, come on, don't just stand there. The new students are about to arrive. Aren't you going to the school gate to welcome them? Maybe our drama department will get a few handsome guys that catch your eye this year. Kyu's eyes lit up. You're right, she quickly left the reception desk to head to the school gate. To Tadhan's sigh. How could a teenage romance be so easily forgotten? Back then, a single, gentle turn of his brought my entire youth with him. Her slightly red eyes blinked a few times as she drifted back to moments in the past, passing notes in literature class, copying song lyrics during study hall, napping in math class. Even at 10, at break could bring a beautiful dream. A gentle breeze blew, messing up the long hair at her temples. Tadhan lifted her head slightly, her face filled with an indescribable disappointment. If only you were still here now. At the gate of Jungthan University, I carried my suitcase and looked up at the 4 large golden words before me. My heart, which had been calm for so long, suddenly stirred. My silent departure that year must have hurt her deeply. I took a deep breath and slowly walked in. As soon as I stepped onto the campus, I immediately attracted the gazes of many female students. They look, that freshman is so handsome. Is this what they call handsome with charisma? I ignored the whispers around me. After a few steps, Kyu, wearing a volunteer armband, quickly approached me. Hey, I'm a volunteer to guide new students. Let me take you through the registration process. I didn't refuse. Yes, I'm not very familiar with the way. Thank you for your help. After a few steps, I turned and asked, excuse me, do you know Tadhan? Of course I know her. Kyu nodded immediately, her eyes playful. You're quick with the news. You just got here, and you already know about our most beautiful campus belle. Do you like our Miss too? He smiled. She and I went to the same high school. I chose Jungthan University because of her. Kyu seemed surprised and gave me a knowing look. Ah, so you came here admiring her from afar. Kids these days are really something. But since you went to the same high school, you must have heard about Miss T's stories, right? I was slightly taken aback. In high school, Tadhan was always a model student. Besides her titles as the campus belle and a top student, I really didn't know of any other stories about her. Did the fact that she was always second in the grade count? Because the person who was always first was me. Just then, the phone in my pocket rang. I looked at Kyu apologetically. Sorry, I need to take this call. Seeing her shake her head to indicate it was fine, I took out my phone. Professor, look, this is Jungthan. A cheerful middle-aged man's voice came through the phone. Chief Jime, my apologies. I was supposed to pick you up at the gate, but my superiors suddenly had a project with some issues, so I couldn't get away. I'm truly sorry. I shook my head and smiled. The superior's project is more important. I'm fine. I'm about to register now. Professor Luck continued, but I still don't understand. With your research level, you could easily substitute for a doctoral research student. Why the sudden desire to attend university? I still stand by what I said before, I replied. As soon as you think it through, I will immediately report to the higher-ups to make you an honorary professor at our Jungthan University. I guarantee the compensation we offer will be better than any other university. I laughed. Let's talk about this later. Just let me rest for a while. Professor Luck nodded repeatedly. All right. Go ahead and register. Although I'm not on campus at the moment, if you have any problems, just call me directly. He smiled and nodded. Yes, I'll visit you when you get back. With that, I hung up. Soon after, Q led me to the freshman registration counter. She looked around and found that Han, who was supposed to be there, had suddenly disappeared. Q looked at me apologetically. Sorry, it seems Han had something urgent come up, so you won't be able to meet her for now. He smiled and nodded. It's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Hearing this, Q immediately brightened up. That's right, you'll see her tomorrow at the freshman orientation meeting. For now, just get your registration done. I nodded slightly and walked to the department's registration table. After verifying my information on the admission notice, finding my name on the freshman list, and signing it, I received my dorm key and student ID card. Then I headed towards the dormitory. Not long after I left, Han returned with someone. Q immediately ran up to her. Han, your timing was terrible. Let me tell you, our department has an incredibly handsome freshman this year. And he said he went to the same high school as you. I think he's definitely here for you. Be quiet. I have no intention of dating right now. Q pressed on. I'm not saying you have to date him, but he's a junior from our hometown. We should at least look out for him a little. You'll meet him at the freshman orientation tomorrow. Then, she asked, his name is Junben. Does that ring a bell? Q's words made Han's heart skip a beat. Even her voice began to tremble. What did you say his name was? Q asked, puzzled, his name is Junben. Is there a problem? Han shook her head in disappointment. No, nothing. She asked, which way did he go? Q pointed in the direction I had left. As Han's gaze followed, I had just disappeared around a corner. However, in that fleeting moment, Han thought she saw the figure of the boy from all those years ago. But then she quickly shook her head. Impossible. It's probably just a coincidence, the same name. Just a similar name and a slightly similar build. In the end, Han trembled, restraining her urge to run after him. Meanwhile, I had arrived at the dormitory building. I followed the instructions on the key and slowly opened the door to the room that would be my home for my university years. Soon, the other roommates arrived. The four of us arranged our seniority by age. Tutu Duan was the eldest, Tu Min Dum was the second, I was the third, and Lu Vu was the youngest. Tu Min Dum laughed and said, brothers, it wasn't easy for us to gather here from all over. I am from the capital and quite familiar with this area. Let me treat everyone to a meal. Tutu Duan waved his hand. No need to treat. We're all brothers here. But since you know the area, you can pick the spot. I also smiled and nodded. 3 years had passed. Another day wouldn't matter. Over in the girls' dormitory, Q skipped over to Han with a bright smile. Han, what are we eating tonight? Han thought for a moment and said, let's go to the cafeteria. I heard the new steamed fish on the first floor is quite good. Q pouted. The cafeteria on the first day. We've been busy all day. Let's go for a walk around the north gate and see what's good. We can pick up some fruit too. Han glanced at her. I think you just want to go out and look at the new freshman. Q giggled. You see right through me. Han turned to her other two roommates. What about you two? Want to go for a walk? The two girls immediately nodded. Sure. Han looked up at Q. It seems like it's been a while since our whole room went out together. Let's go then. Soon after getting ready, the four of them left the girls' dormitory. At almost the same time, the four of us arrived at the food street by the north gate, found a barbecue restaurant, and sat down. Meanwhile, Q held to Han's wrist, looked around, and said to her and the other two, sisters, which restaurant should we eat at? The other two girls nodded. We're fine with anything. Q looked at Han beside her. Han lifted her head, quickly scanned the area, and suddenly froze. Right at the entrance of a barbecue restaurant, I was standing with Tutu Duong and the others, just having walked in. In that instant, Han felt her mind go blank. Her eyes stared intently at the restaurant I had just entered, and she held her breath, unable to recover for a long moment. He looked so much like him. It was completely different from the back view she saw earlier. Just now, she felt like she had truly seen a boy who looked almost identical to Jonathan. His clothes were even the same as in her memory, a clean white shirt, long jeans, and short, slightly messy black hair. In that moment, Han felt like she was suffocating. She didn't want to believe that Jonathan was gone. Q shook Han's wrist. Han, what are you daydreaming about? Han snapped back to reality and looked at Q and the others. Let's have barbecue. Barbecue and beer are the best in the summer. Q and the others naturally had no objections. Then, Han led them slowly towards the barbecue restaurant I had just entered. With every step, her heart beat faster. Could there really be two people in this world who look so alike? Or was it that Han's heart, which had been numb for 3 years, was beginning to revive? Whether it was a vain hope or a delusion, she wanted to see this boy named Jungvin from her memories. At this time, we had found a private room in the restaurant and sat down. I picked up the menu, glanced through it a few times, and said to everyone, I'm going to the restroom for a minute. You guys go ahead and order. Meanwhile, Thanhan, Kyu, and the others also entered the restaurant and found a corner to sit. After calling the owner for a menu, Thanhan looked at everyone. You guys order first. I think I saw an acquaintance. I'm going to look for them for a moment. Kyu's eyes lit up. What acquaintance? It's not that handsome boy, is it? Thanhan shot her a look. Go on. She stood in place, her eyes scanning the barbecue restaurant. When she saw only unfamiliar faces, her expression revealed her disappointment. Then she took a deep breath and quickly opened the door of each private room. Not seeing a familiar face, she would step out disappointedly, repeatedly apologizing, sorry, I entered the wrong room. Finally, Thanhan opened the door to the room where Tutu Duong and my other roommates were. Seeing her enter, they widened their eyes in surprise. Senior 2, Thanhan smiled awkwardly at the three of them. Hello. Then she looked at the 4 sets of cutlery on the table and asked curiously, is there one more of you? Tutu Duong quickly replied, our third brother went to the restroom. Thanhan nodded and looked at everyone apologetically. Sorry, I thought I saw an acquaintance and came into the wrong room. She quickly left. Just as she turned around, she saw a boy in a white shirt walk past. In that instant, Thanhan's heart pounded. She took a deep breath, slowly walked up behind the boy, and gently tapped his shoulder. The boy quickly turned around. Seeing it was Thanhan, his eyes lit up. Student 2, can I help you? Thanhan looked embarrassed. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. I'm really sorry. She apologized repeatedly, and then returned to her table in a daze. Kyu quickly asked, what's wrong? You look like you've lost your soul after just one trip around. Thanhan forced a smile. It's nothing. She looked at the cold beer on the table. This is our first barbecue together this semester. Let's have a couple of drinks. I'll toast first. She opened a beer, filled her glass, and drank it all in one go. On the other side, I slowly walked out of the restroom, not looking at the main area, and went straight into our private room. The table was already full of cold beer. Seeing me enter, Tutu Duong and the other two laughed. Third brother, you were in the restroom for so long, we were all waiting for you. Come on, let's toast to meeting each other from all corners of the country. I didn't hesitate, sat down, raised my glass, and smiled at the three of them. Cheers. After a few drinks and some food, Tu Meng Dong, his face red, held up his glass and said to everyone, Senior Thanhan is also eating here. Let's go over and toast her. After all, she's our assistant instructor for the upcoming military training. I froze. Thanhan was here just now. Lu Vu immediately said, when you were in the restroom, Senior Ta might have entered our room by mistake. When I went to the restroom earlier, I saw her and her roommates still drinking out there. Tutu Duong nodded in agreement. Right. He saw her too. I have to say, Senior Ta lives up to her title as the #1 campus belle of Jiangnan University. She's beautiful even when she's drinking. I frowned slightly. Thanhan never used to touch alcohol. With the sound of a chair scraping, I stood up abruptly. Tutu Duong and the others looked at me. Third brother, where are you going? A look of concern flashed in my eyes, then I smiled at them. I'm just stepping out for a bit. You guys carry on. With that, I opened the door and walked out to the main area. My eyes scanned the room, and I quickly found Thanhan, who was drinking non-stop at her table. Kyu and her other 2 roommates looked at Thanhan worriedly. Thanhan, stop drinking. You're drunk. After walking around the restaurant, they felt something was off with Thanhan. She seemed lost in a daze, downing glass after glass. At first, they thought she was in a bad mood and drank a few with her, but they never expected her to drink so fiercely. Thanhan's eyes were already hazy. It's okay. I'll just finish this last glass. Her hand holding the glass trembled slightly, her face flushed. Just then, a face she had longed for appeared before her eyes. Although it looked blurry, Thanhan was sure it was Jungmin. Stop drinking. I snatched the glass from her hand, drank it all in one go, and then looked at everyone worriedly. How much did she drink? Kyu pointed to the 7 or 8 beer bottles on the floor. All of these were drunk by our Miss Tu. Thanhan looked up, her red eyes immediately filled with tears. I'm not drunk. Jungmin, is that you? You're finally here. She then hugged me tightly, choking out, I promise I will never argue with you again. Just don't disappear suddenly anymore, okay? My expression was complex. I gently patted Thanhan's trembling shoulder and asked Kyu, Senior, where is your dorm? Let me help carry her back. Kyu was stunned for a moment, then excited. Okay, the 2 of us can't carry her. We'll have to trouble you. I shook my head. No trouble at all. I supported Thanhan's slender waist, lifted her into a princess carry, and quickly carried her away from the table and out of the restaurant. In our private room, Tutu Duong and the others peeked their heads out. Seeing me carry to Han away, they were all dumbfounded. They had just been discussing whether to go toast to Han, and now Jiang then had directly carried her away. Han's two other roommates were also very confused. In their year of university, countless boys had pursued Han, from rich kids to entrepreneurs, but she had rejected them all. On campus, she was cold to all male students. Yet, this freshman on his very first day, was actively embraced by Han. Ki was also quite surprised. From what she knew, Han had a history with a boy, the one who had disappeared 3 years ago. Thinking of this, Ki couldn't help but shiver. Could this be something supernatural? However, she didn't have the mind to think about it now. She quickly ran to the counter, paid the bill, and then led her two roommates after me. Han groggily opened her eyes, staring at me from a close distance. Her arms wrapped around my neck like a squirrel, clinging to me tightly. Her fragrant breath mixed with the faint smell of alcohol as she whispered, "Jungmen, is it really you? You're finally back. Promise me you won't leave again. I really promise I'll never argue with you again." The scent of a young woman mixed with the light smell of alcohol. Looking at Han in my arms, my heart stirred. Her drowsy eyes. After all, I was a young man who had just come of age. Han's actions immediately made my blood boil. I couldn't help but swallow hard, looking down at her with an expression full of indulgence. "I promise I will never leave you again." Hearing my words, Han smiled contentedly in my arms, like a child acting spoiled. "You promised. No more disappearing. Whoever disappears is a little puppy." Woof woof. I nodded repeatedly. "I promise. Whoever disappears is a puppy." Only then did Han lie quietly in my arms and gradually fall asleep. I turned my head to look at Q beside me. "Is she always like this after drinking?" Q shook her head vigorously. No. Although our dorm sometimes gets together for beers, Han is always very measured when she drinks. She's never been drunk." After a pause, she couldn't help but laugh. "Honestly, this is the first time we've seen Han drunk. I never expected someone usually so aloof to be like a child when drunk." The two girls beside her nodded in agreement. I nodded slightly. "Is that so?" Then I looked at the phones in their hands and asked doubtfully, "Are you recording?" Q laughed awkwardly. "Just capturing a beautiful moment. We're just recording her drunken state to show her when she sobers up tomorrow, to help her remember what happened tonight." The corner of my mouth twitched. He said softly, "Go ahead and record. Just make sure to get my good side." Q and the others immediately burst out laughing. "Will do." But after a few more steps, Q looked at me curiously. "Hey, you're not the boyfriend she mentioned who died 3 years ago, are you?" I thought for a few seconds. If I'm not mistaken, I probably am. Q and the others were instantly puzzled. Then why did she say? "You're going to say I died 3 years ago, right?" I looked down at Han sleeping soundly in my arms, an involuntary smile on my face. "Actually, I'd also really like to know why she says I've been dead for 3 years. After a pause, the smile on my face faded. "My ex-girlfriend." Guided by Q, I carried Han to the entrance of her dormitory and carefully set her down. I looked at Q and the others. "Please take care of her tonight when she gets inside." They nodded repeatedly. "No problem." Then they supported Han, and walked step by step into the female dormitory. I waited until they were out of sight before leaving. When I got back to the barbecue restaurant, Tutu Duong and the others were still obediently sitting in the private room. Seeing me push the door open, the three of them stood up as if to interrogate me. Tutu Duong looked at me with great curiosity. "Third brother, spill it. What's going on? On the very first day of university, you've already conquered the most beautiful belle of Jiangnan University." I looked at them helplessly. "What conquering? We've known each other since high school." Tutu Duong stared at me. "Third brother, don't treat us like we're blind. Just normal friends, and you princess carried her back to her dorm. Are her roommates just for show? Besides, I clearly saw Miss to jump into your arms." Lu Vu's eyes lit up. "Third brother, you're not the boyfriend Miss to mentioned who died 3 years ago, are you? You two broke up 3 years ago, you broke her heart, and out of love turn 8, she went around telling everyone you were dead." I was completely exasperated. "You guys, stop guessing. I didn't do anything to wrong her. And we were never a couple." Hearing this, Tu Meng Dong laughed. "From what I know, she hasn't dated anyone since high school. So, I get it. That boyfriend who died 3 years ago was just something Miss To made up as a shield. In that case, do I have a chance?" Tutu Duong glared at Tu Meng Dong. "Go away, stop dreaming. With my sharp sixth sense, I can tell there's definitely a story between our third brother and Miss Tu." Instantly, all three of them looked at me with curious eyes. I sighed helplessly. "We were never together, and there was no start or end. We were just normal classmates." Lu Vu asked again, "So you have no intentions?" I was silent for half a minute. Meanwhile, at a large aerospace research facility in the north, a group of scientists spoke seriously. Everyone, regarding the recent failed flight test, does anyone have any ideas? At that moment, Professor Look suddenly stood up and looked at everyone. I know someone who might be able to help us solve this problem. The person he was referring to was John then. Regarding the research on photolithography technology, the research base also encountered many problems back then, but those problems were quickly resolved in his hands. In some respects, among the researchers who had participated in the design research at the science facility, John then's position was almost defied. Hearing this, Lam Kyan Kwok, the chief designer of the Northwest Space Fighter engine, immediately looked at Professor Look. Who did you say can solve this problem? Professor Look slowly opened his mouth. Dun then. Everyone present looked puzzled. The name was too unfamiliar because John then's identity was currently a top secret level matter in the country. Only Lam Kyan Kwok, standing in the crowd, had a slightly different expression. He looked at Luck Dun and asked, the John then you're talking about, is he the chief designer of that project? He's the vice president of the Huaxia Academy of Sciences. Your information is quite up to date. Besides, they even held a meeting together to nominate you as a senior academician of the Huaxia Academy of Sciences. You also have some understanding of John then's achievements. Luck Dun nodded firmly. That's him. Lam Kyan Kwok was a bit doubtful. Then can you invite him? As far as I know, isn't that kid studying at Kindu University now? That's right, he's not focused. These old academicians had a certain understanding of John then's research talent. In just 3 years, he was able to develop a 1-nanometer photolithography machine from scratch, pushing Huaxia's chip development to the forefront of the world. With this kind of research talent, he even wanted to keep the kid in the research facility 24/7. Luck Dun nodded. I can't guarantee it, but I have to try. Lam Kyan Kwok thought for a few seconds, a look of anticipation gradually appearing in his eyes. He finally nodded. Then give it a try. Early the next morning, I was packing my clothes in the dorm while talking to Luck Dun on the phone. No problem, I'll buy the earliest flight ticket right away. I should be able to arrive tonight. Then I hung up. Tutu Duong, who had just woken up, groggily scratched his head and looked at me packing my luggage. Third brother, why are you packing so early in the morning? I replied, something came up at home, I need to go back for a bit. This research on the 7th-generation fighter jet engine design wasn't supposed to require my participation, but I understood that once I embarked on the path of research, I no longer belonged to just myself. Some things still needed to be done. Tutu Duong was instantly awake. What the heck? You're not going to participate in the military training? I replied, I've already informed the school. Tutu Duong nodded as if he half understood. How long will you be gone? A week at the earliest, maybe until you guys finish military training at the latest. Tutu Duong was wide awake now. You're not just trying to skip military training, are you? Hey, you're leaving so suddenly, have you told Miss to? My packing motions stopped. Over in the girls' dormitory, the morning sun shone through the window onto the floor. Then Hun rubbed her throbbing forehead, stretched lazily, and asked them Kyu, who was already awake beside her, Kyu, what time is it? Them Kyu smiled. 7 o'clock. It's still early. Aren't you going to sleep more? Then Hun quickly got out of bed, rubbing her sleepy eyes. I was drunk last night, wasn't I? I vaguely remember hugging someone. Hearing this, Them Kyu laughed. That's right. I thought you'd forgotten everything. She took out her phone and opened the video she had recorded last night. So, want me to help you remember? Then Hun exclaimed in exasperation. You guys even recorded it. Them Kyu held the phone in front of Then Hun. See for yourself. Do you remember the person who carried you away? Then Hun quickly took the phone. Seeing the image on the screen, she froze on the spot. The phone was playing the scene of Jun then carrying her back to the dorm. It even recorded my line, just make sure to get my good side. In that moment, all sorts of memories flooded back. Teardrops fell from Then Hun's eyes, one after another, as if she was afraid I would disappear after she finished watching the video. Then Hun quickly jumped out of bed, her eyes wide as she looked at Them Kyu. Kyu, how do you know Jun then? Where is he now? Them Kyu replied, he's a freshman in our finance and management department. He appeared after you got drunk last night. Then you threw yourself into his arms, and he carried you back. Them Kyu probed, he's not the boyfriend who died 3 years ago that you mentioned, is he? Then Hun didn't have time to answer. She quickly changed her clothes and rushed out of the dormitory. Them Kyu called after her helplessly, hey, what's the rush? Do you even know which dorm he's in? Then Hun shouted back as she ran, send me the freshman dorm assignment list. In front of the male dormitory, not many people were passing by. I was walking slowly on the path, planning to get breakfast at the cafeteria, when Then Hun's slightly trembling voice sounded in my ear. Then. I suddenly looked up. Then Hun had already wiped the tears from her face. She just stood there, calmly looking at me. 3 years had passed, and Jun then's appearance hadn't changed much, though he seemed taller. The innocence in his eyes was replaced with maturity and composure. His temperament hadn't changed, he was still as gentle and refined as before. Although Tadhan had already seen me in the video, when she saw me in person, she felt her heart stop. The two of them fell into a dead silence. Neither spoke first, just like that year when she angrily told me she never wanted to see me again. But back then, it was mostly out of pique. Now it was more curiosity, doubt, and resentment. Resentment for why I had left without a word. Even if they were never together, shouldn't friends at least say goodbye? I also stood there, staring at Tadhan for a long time. She was still the same as 3 years ago, her appearance hadn't changed much. She was still as beautiful, vibrant, and radiant as ever. Actually, when I left the research facility, I had thought of all sorts of opening lines for when I met Tadhan again. You're 18 now. Do you have a boyfriend? Have you been well these past few years? Congratulations on finally getting into Jonathan University. But now, I really didn't know how to face her. 3 years ago, I received an inheritance from a transcendent civilization, the eternal treasure trove of knowledge. Although with my current level of knowledge, I couldn't yet understand the concept of this eternal treasure trove, it existed deep within my brain. It was by studying its contents that I finally developed the 1-nanometer photolithography technology. And this was probably just a trivial technology within the treasure trove. It was because of this 1-nanometer high-precision technology that I submitted it to the nation with a let's see what happens attitude, which led to my silent departure 3 years ago. Tadhan and I looked at each other for several dozen seconds. In those seconds, memories of their time together in high school once again surfaced in both their minds, the cheers of their classmates when they were both called up to the board to solve a problem, the encouragement they gave each other while running the 5,000-meter race at the school sports meet, sneaking sausages during class. The sunsets of their youth were engraved with memories of each other. It was just a pity that he had never held her grimy hand after a basketball game, and she had never straightened his messy hair after a gust of wind. Now they stood there, hesitating for a long time before looking up and asking, I heard you go around telling people I'm dead. Tadhan's pupils contracted rapidly, her eyes instantly turning red. 1,000 words seemed to be stuck in her throat. She gritted her teeth and almost shouted, That's right, Jungnan, aren't you already dead? Why did you show up? For 3 whole years, she had truly believed I was dead. But now, I had suddenly appeared before her. My voice caught. I really wanted to explain what had happened in the past 3 years, why I had to leave, and what I had done. But with my current identity, I couldn't reveal anything. Countless explanations were suppressed within me. The things I had gone through in the past 3.5 years could not be known even by my closest relatives. Even the contributions I had made might only be announced to the public after my death. In the end, I could only say softly, anyway, long time no see. Hearing this, Tadhan's expression immediately turned cold. I don't want to see you. I came to see you just to confirm if you were really dead. Now that I know you're still alive, I am leaving. With that, she turned to leave. Tadhan, I called out to stop her. She turned to look at me. What is it? I said slowly, I just wanted to tell you that I didn't break the promise I made back then. Tadhan gave a cold laugh. The promise back then. She suppressed her anger and looked at me. Jungmin, what is our relationship? Who do you think you are? You come and go as you please. For 3 years, I sent you so many messages, and you didn't reply to a single one. No reason, just vanished from the face of the earth. Do you think that's cool? Do you think that makes you impressive? Do you think that will make me remember you for a lifetime? You already disappeared, so why did you come back? The last sentence, Tadhan almost screamed, as if to vent all the sadness, grievance, and dissatisfaction of the past 3 years. At first, she had held on to hope, thinking maybe I was just playing a joke on her, just disappearing for summer. At that time, she thought that when she found me, she would definitely give me a piece of her mind. But then, she gave up. For 3 years, there was no news of me. She gradually felt she was about to forget the memories of our reluctant parting 3 years ago. And now, I had suddenly appeared again. I was rendered speechless. What could I say? This 7-foot body of mine was already promised to the country. In the end, I could only let out a helpless sigh. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left without a word back then. I left in too much of a hurry, and I didn't know how to face it. The research project I participated in is a national secret. Even my parents only know that I was specially selected by the country to contribute. I have no regrets, but towards Tadhan, I feel guilty. Tadhan gritted her teeth. You don't need to apologize to me. We have no relationship. You can come or go as you please. Whatever you do has nothing to do with me. I looked at Tadhan with a forbearing gaze. I have to go. Something urgent came up at home. I need to go back for a while, but I'll be back by the end of the military training at the latest. Hearing this, Tadhan's face tensed. What happened? But then she became cold again. If you want to go, then go. I'm not anyone to you. You don't need to explain to me. I smiled. Although I've already informed the school, You are our class's assistant instructor. It's only right for a freshman to report to the assistant instructor if they're absent from military training. Besides, in my eyes, you're more than just an assistant instructor. Thanhan huffed softly. I don't know what you're talking about. Then she tried to act calm. Is there anything else? If not, I'm leaving. Nothing else. I raised my hand, intending to smooth her slightly messy hair, but I held back just as my hand was about to touch her. This doesn't count as leaving without a word, right? I don't want to become a little puppy. Whatever. Thanhan immediately remembered the words she had said when she was drunk last night. Her face turned red, and she glared at me. If you have family matters, then hurry up and go. You're so annoying. With that, she quickly turned and walked away. I stood there, watching Thanhan's retreating figure, a smile gradually forming on my lips. Maybe I really don't know how to talk about feelings. Back in her dorm, Thanhan thought for a moment, then suddenly berated herself angrily. Thanhan, why are you so useless? Why do you always soften whenever you see him? He left without a word for 3 years. Does he even understand how you felt? And you're still concerned about what's going on with his family. Then she took a few deep breaths to calm down and quickly made up her mind. I absolutely cannot let this 3-year matter go just like that. Over at the airport, I had already entered the elevator heading to the waiting lounge. Just then, someone shouted to the people in the elevator, "You guys inside, get out. Get out first." I looked up at the noisy crowd outside the elevator. It turned out to be a celebrity and a group of female fans taking pictures. I couldn't help but sneer. Don't you know how to wait for the next one? Did your family build this airport? The male singer's assistant's face immediately darkened. What do you mean by that? Don't you know how busy our Mr. Khan's schedule is? The plane is about to arrive. Get out quickly. A remained calm. What does the plane's arrival have to do with this? Ask anyone in this elevator who doesn't have their own business to attend to. Do celebrities get special privileges? Hearing this, some of the passionate fans around the male singer couldn't take it anymore. It's an honor for you that Mr. Khan is using this elevator. Get out. What are you standing there for? If you make our Mr. Khan miss his flight, can you bear the responsibility? Actually, the male singer's expression wasn't good either. 2 years of fame in the country had made him used to being pampered. Let alone. He held up the elevator despite being 2.5 hours late for his film shoot, forcing the entire crew to wait for him. However, as is the professional habit of a star, he remained very careful in some aspects. Doing something too outrageous could easily provoke an immediate public backlash. A smile instantly appeared on his face as he signaled for his assistant and bodyguard to step back. He looked at me in the elevator and said with a laugh, "It's all right. Even though I'm in a rush, I'll let you go first. After all, everyone is very busy." The corner of my mouth twitched. The time he wasted was enough for the elevator to make a full trip up and down. But the crazed fans excitedly claimed that their idol was so well-mannered, then pointed at me. I shook my head helplessly, ignoring the male singer, and directly pressed the button to close the elevator door. I thought to myself, what a drama queen, making a mountain out of a molehill. Not long after I left, the singer turned to his fans, a cold glint flashing in his smiling eyes. All right, everyone, don't make a fuss. This is just a small thing, don't post it online, okay? We have to go now, so please disperse. His assistant also hurriedly said with a smile, "Everyone, please disperse. Remember not to spread this online, okay? Please don't." Of course, while they said this, they were already calculating how to use this incident for publicity. The fans, who hadn't thought of it that way, were now prompted. The fan groups of the singer, Kun Kun, immediately exploded. Kun Kun was their everything. Bullying him was worse than killing their own parents. In just over 10 minutes, Kun Kun's crazed fans began posting maliciously edited videos online, calling for my condemnation and turning me into a public enemy that everyone wanted to attack online. In a dormitory at Jiangchen University, Shen Kao was casually scrolling through videos when she saw this trending topic rising rapidly. She immediately called Su Qinghan over. Qinghan, look, isn't this your little brother? So many people are cursing him out online right now." Su Qinghan was stunned. "What do you mean, my little brother?" She quickly took Shen Kao's phone to look, and immediately exclaimed, "Are these fans all idiots?" Then, she took out her own phone, went straight to the trending topic, and started firing back. "Is being a star supposed to make you superior? If you don't yield the elevator, does it mean you're in a hurry to be reincarnated or in a hurry to die?" She could scold Jiang Chen because Jiang Chen owed her, but no one else was allowed to. But she soon discovered that her comment was instantly drowned by a flood of malicious replies. A look of worry appeared in Su Qinghan's eyes. But at that very moment, in a certain special office, a red emergency light suddenly lit up. Multiple users are exposing the personal information of a security member online. There's a potential risk of information leakage. We are prepared to block it. Awaiting specific instructions from superiors. The director of the security bureau, Liu Changqing, saw this and immediately erupted in anger. What kind of job are you people doing? Immediately have all information about Jianchen removed from the internet. At the same time, quickly arrange for an investigation into this matter to see if any foreign espionage organizations are behind it. I'm giving you 10 minutes. The nation can do without me, the director of security, but our scientific research community absolutely cannot do without him. At the same time, at the airport lounge, I received a call from Chu Daiman. Little Jian, don't worry about this. Let this old man handle it. Just relax and wait for your flight. I hadn't paid it much mind, but just then, a few gaudily dressed girls walked up to me. Are you Jin Chen? You look decent enough. Weren't you in a hurry? Why are you still sitting here? You just saw that our Kun is famous and wanted to leech off his fame, didn't you? You want to be famous, right? Well, we'll help you get famous. After saying that, one of them directly splashed a bottle of water on me. I didn't have time to react and was so. The security guards in the lounge saw this and quickly ran over. Hey, you girls, what are you doing? The girls glanced at each other and quickly ran away. Just as I finished wiping the water off with a tissue, the phone screen next to me suddenly lit up. Su Qinghan, worried in her dorm, had sent a message. Are you okay? My terrible mood instantly brightened. I was about to reply to the seemingly cold Su Qinghan when the eldest brother from my dorm called. After hearing what he had to say, I was furious. It turned out that Su Qinghan and a few other girls from her dorm had defended me online. As a result, someone had exposed our high school deskmate relationship. Someone even posted her photo online, and now she was being viciously attacked by Kun's fans. Initially, I had a tolerant attitude and didn't care about those crazy fans, but now I couldn't stand it anymore. Taking a deep breath, I looked down at the message Su Qinghan had sent, and suddenly felt a pang of heartache. She was being cursed online like that but was still worried about me. After thinking for a few seconds, I called her. The call connected quickly. Su Qinghan spoke first. Tian Chen, are you at the airport? How is it? Are you okay? I heard those fans are crazy. They didn't do anything to you, did they? I'm fine. Don't worry about this for now. Let me handle it. Just stay in your dorm for a bit and find a happy movie to watch. By the time you finish the movie, I'll have everything sorted out. But Su Qinghan's voice was agitated. How are you going to solve it? There are so many people cursing you online right now. How can you handle it alone? By the end, her voice was tinged with a sob. Seeing this, I comforted her for a bit, and then pretended to laugh. Scholar Su, you're so worried about me. Does that mean you've forgiven me? No way. Su Qinghan immediately pouted proudly. Tianchen, let me tell you, business is business. I helped you online only because they went too far. That's all. Don't get any funny ideas. Get that thought out of your head. I will absolutely not forgive you. She silently added in her heart, at least not that easily. She was so useless. It had been 3 years without contact, yet the moment I reappeared, her heart immediately surrendered unconditionally. All the frustration in my heart instantly vanished. From the moment I met Su Qinghan, I knew she was still the same person as before, just too proud. The only fortunate thing was that we hadn't missed our chance. I looked up. The future is long. After I finish my work, I will properly ask for your forgiveness. Su Qinghan huffed. I can't be bothered to talk to you. I'm hanging up. In the women's dormitory, a tense-faced Su Qinghan directly hung up the phone. Then she took a few deep breaths, fanning her slightly flushed cheeks with her hand. Shaking her head, she picked up her phone again, transformed into a warrior of justice, and started commenting. After hanging up with Su Qinghan, I took a secure phone from my suitcase and dialed a number. This is Jun Chen, security code 30. I request to speak with Director Liu Changqing of the Security Bureau. Liu Changqing connected the call. Academician Jian, I am truly sorry. Rest assured, your identity will absolutely not be exposed. Our Security Bureau will thoroughly investigate everyone involved. Then I'll have to trouble you, Director Liu. But I have one more favor to ask. The girl named Su Qinghan who is supporting me on Rainbow. I don't want her to be affected by this anymore. No trouble at all. This is what our Security Bureau should be doing. After saying that, he hung up. Looking at the trending topic on Weibo that was still climbing, Liu Changqing asked, what's going on? Haven't we started deleting comments? Why is the popularity still so high? A staff member looked helpless. There are too many fans. We can't keep up with deleting the comments. We delete one batch, and another one appears right after. Liu Changqing snorted coldly. Notify all other departments. Within 2 minutes, all information about Jian Chen on the internet must completely disappear. With his one command, all police departments, military barracks, and street offices received a red-edited document requesting assistance in handling the case. The document only had 2 points. First, unauthorized discussion within the police department was forbidden. Second, make the arrest. Although the description in the document was simple, everyone knew that the fewer the words, the bigger the case. Meanwhile, in a high and VIP lounge, Kun Kun lay leisurely on a luxurious massage chair, looking at the trending topic online with contempt and pride in his eyes. You little brat, just a commoner, and you dare to fight me. I can crush you with a flick of my finger. His assistant beside him said with a smile, the fans are really passionate. It's been less than half an hour, and this topic is almost #1 on the trending list. Your exposure has increased quite a bit. As they were celebrating, the secretary from Kun Kun's management company rushed in. Mr. Sun, this is bad. People from the tax bureau are here. They want to take all the financial and tax-related documents of our company. Moreover, many departments, even the police, are heading towards our company. The CEO of the management company was thrown into a state of panic. On the other side, at the airport, Kun Kun and his assistant continuously received notifications of contract cancellations. Before they could even understand what was happening, 4 people in plain clothes approached them. We are law enforcement officers from the Security Bureau. According to our investigation, you 2 are suspected of endangering a national confidential personnel. Your arrest has been approved. Please come with us. Kun Kun was immediately dumbfounded. He just asked someone to yield an elevator, and he didn't even get it. How did it turn into this? Who on earth was that guy? Unwilling to accept it, Kun Kun asked, can I ask who that Jiang Chen is? The law enforcement officer said sternly, you are not qualified to know his identity. But before Kun Kun could recover, he saw me sitting quietly in the lounge. Immediately after, 2 people from the Security Bureau approached. Mr. Jian, the issue online has been resolved. We have been sent to ensure your safety. I stood up, thanked them, then looked at Kun Kun with a pitying gaze and said with a smile, Big Star, I wish you luck in the coming days. He immediately became furious, but just as he was about to move, he was held down by the 2 officers escorting him. However, a star, no matter how fallen, has many fans. When countless negative news stories were exposed, his fans couldn't sit still. But just over 10 minutes later, an even more shocking piece of news appeared. According to the tax authorities' investigation, Kun Kun had evaded over 1 billion yuan in taxes. This immediately caused a public uproar. On the other side, in the women's dormitory of Jiangchen University, Shin Kao excitedly shouted, King Han, did you see? Even the official authorities have stepped in. Your Jiang Chen is really lucky this time. Su Qinghan nodded repeatedly. He saw. But she explained proudly, I declare once again, Jiang Chen and I really have no relationship anymore. As a result, the phone in her hand suddenly rang. She immediately tensed up, hurriedly motioning for silence. Don't talk. Dungeon is Helen. Shin Kao immediately gave a mischievous smile. And you say you have no relationship with him. He just calls, and you get this nervous. Go. She quickly rolled her eyes, took a deep breath, and then answered my call. Dungeon, what's up? I'm about to board the plane, so I'm calling to let you know. Su Qinghan nodded, thought for a moment, and then immediately pouted. What's our relationship? If you're boarding, just board. What does it have to do with me? You don't need to call me. At this moment, the boarding announcement for BMO echoed through the airport. I have to board now. When I get back, I'll come find you. I still want to know what you meant by my boyfriend has been dead for 3 years. My ex-girlfriend. Su Qinghan immediately blushed. What boyfriend? I don't know what you're talking about. Just get on your plane. She hung up. After hanging up, Su Qinghan became nervous. How did he remember that? At the time, I really thought he was dead. Who knew he was still alive? How do I explain this? Do I tell him that I liked him so much that I gave him the identity of a dead boyfriend? But then she wondered, passenger Jiang Chen going to Bimao? When did Jiang Chen move to Bimao? Before she could think it through, Shen Kao came over with a mischievous grin. Little King An, did you know that when you were on the phone just now, you looked exactly like a cat in heat? Shen Chao grinned slyly and came closer. King Han, do you know what you look like? Su Qinghan was puzzled. What? Like a wife missing her husband. If you really miss him, why don't you send him a message? I don't want to. Su Qinghan immediately shook her head and pouted. I'm this beautiful. Besides Jiang Chen, is there no one else who wants me? Why should I be the one to text him? On the other side, to expedite the research on the spacecraft engine, I was carefully studying documents on the plane. At 1100 p.m., I arrived at Lin Jianwo's dormitory and handed him the USB drive in my hand. Director Lin, here are some of my research ideas and drawings for the spacecraft engine. Lin Jianwo only glanced at it for a moment before his expression gradually became serious because the documents I provided were too detailed. At this moment, my phone suddenly rang. Sorry, Director Lin. Lin Jianwo smiled. It's fine. It's so late, it must be your little girlfriend Sue texting you, right? I've been through the whole young love thing. You don't need to mind me. I looked at my phone. Sure enough, it was a message from Su Qinghan. Are you home yet? I typed a reply. Just got home. Talking with someone right now. When she saw this message, Su Qinghan was instantly furious. She had finally swallowed her last bit of pride to proactively ask what Jian Chen was doing, and this guy says he's talking to someone else. He has time to talk to someone else but no time to send her a message saying he's home. After disappearing for 3 years, they weren't even good friends anymore. Back when they were deskmates, he would even text her to let her know he was going to take a shower. Men really do change. She was just torturing herself. Su Qinghan huffed softly and typed a few lines. Did I come at a bad time? I won't talk anymore then. You can talk to that person today. I'll come back tomorrow. Good night. I'm going to bed. Seeing this suddenly long message from Su Qinghan, I felt a bit confused. What's going on? And what's with this tone? Director Lin saw that my expression was off and asked, fighting with your girlfriend? Back when I was chasing my wife, I made her so happy she couldn't be happier. If it's a relationship problem, you can ask this old man for advice. And so, one dared to teach, and the other truly dared to learn. I sent Su Qinghan a message like this. Okay, you go to sleep first then. The dorm AC is on in the summer, so remember to cover yourself with a blanket at night so you don't get cold. Good night. Hugs to you, little one. On the other side, when Su Qinghan saw the message, her expression immediately froze. She gritted her teeth and quickly typed on her phone, Jian Chen, it's been 3 years since I last beat you up. Are you getting an itch? You dog of a man. Shen Qiao in the dorm immediately looked at Su Qinghan with curiosity. Did your Jian Chen make you angry again? Su Qinghan clenched her phone tightly. Eve decided. I'm not going to talk to him for at least 3 days. Shen Qiao thought to herself, I give it 1 day, tops. Director Lin looked at my dazed expression. What's wrong? Did she happily go to sleep? I looked extremely awkward. Yeah. She went to sleep. The next morning, Su Qinghan, as an assistant instructor, sat on the sports field occasionally glancing at her phone. Shen Qiao, sitting next to her, quickly asked, Qinghan, are you hiding a man in your phone? You look at it every few minutes. What's wrong? Su Qinghan immediately pouted, her voice filled with resentment. Isn't it because of Jian Chen? I sent him a good morning message this morning, and it's almost noon, and he still hasn't replied. Even though I said I wouldn't talk to him for 3 days, I didn't tell him that. I even deliberately posted on my moments with a picture of military training under the hot sun, just waiting for Jian Chen to message and ask about it. Maybe I would have softened up and replied to him. Who knew I gave him the chance and he didn't even take it. Shen Qiao quickly said, didn't you say yesterday you wouldn't talk to him for 3 days? Su Qinghan pouted aggrievedly. So he can't message me. Seeing this, Shen Qiao couldn't help but reach out and pinch Su Qinghan's still slightly chubby cheeks. Oh, please, little Qinghan. How can you be this cute? After a moment of thought, she continued, if he doesn't text you, then don't mind him. There are plenty of fish in the sea. If it really doesn't work out, just find someone else. You're not lacking for anyone but Jian Chen. Su Qinghan pouted, we'll see. Then she picked up her phone again and looked. Still no new messages. That afternoon, at the research facility, dozens of top experts and professors from various fields gathered. Among them, besides Liu Yongjia, most had received urgent orders and were rushed to the Bima research facility, completely unaware of what was happening. As everyone was discussing among themselves, Director Lin finally led me and Liu Yongjia slowly into the conference room. When they saw me appear, some people in the room were stunned. Who is this kid? The people here were at least in their 30s, with the older ones being close to 70 or 80. Director Lin looked around at everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please be quiet. His voice was somewhat serious, causing everyone to quiet down immediately. Even the old academicians from the Chinese Academy of Sciences fell silent like statues, looking solemnly at Director Lin. After clearing his throat, Director Lin continued, there is certainly a reason for gathering everyone here today. However, before we begin, everyone needs to sign a confidentiality agreement. After signing the agreement, we will discuss other matters. Soon after, a confidentiality agreement was distributed to everyone. When they opened the envelope, a document marked Top Secret appeared before them. A 5-star Top Secret agreement. What kind of project is this? A 5-star confidentiality agreement has only appeared a few times to date. To participate in such an important scientific research project was a lifelong dream for countless scientists. After everyone had signed the confidentiality agreement, Director Lin cleared his throat and said, now that the agreements are signed, I would like to introduce the project I am about to announce. This is our country's warp drive device design and development project. Jian Chen, standing next to me, is the chief person in charge of this project. Someone spoke up, Director Lin, you're not joking, are you? A young man like him can really be in charge of this project. Others quickly began to question it as well. Director Lin didn't say anything more, just looked at me. I immediately cleared my throat and slowly walked up to face everyone. Experts, professors, and even academicians of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, I know my age is a bit young, and I know you all have doubts about why I am participating in this project. Whether you want to stay or leave, I, Jun Chen, cannot stop you. I'll give everyone 3 minutes to consider whether to stay or go. After 3 minutes, I will explain the reason to everyone. If you have any questions or issues then, you can ask me directly. The conference room immediately fell silent. Some people looked at Jian Chen with surprise. Regardless of his scientific research level, to be able to speak so confidently in front of so many experts and professors, his courage alone surpassed all the young talents in the country. After 3 minutes, of course, no one wanted to leave. No matter what, no one wanted to miss the opportunity of a 5-star top secret project. Seeing this, I slowly began to speak. The research on this spatial warp drive device was proposed by me, and I have achieved some theoretical results and research materials. Next, I will fully present to everyone the research direction this time, as well as the research content that everyone needs to coordinate on in the near future. If there are any problems, everyone can also raise their opinions. Countless people were immediately astonished. It's really a spatial warp drive device. Are we all getting old? Are young people nowadays this brilliant? After fully accepting this reality, everyone began to hold a short meeting. The meeting lasted for nearly 6 hours, until 200 m. I focused on explaining some theories for implementing the warp drive device and also answered many questions from the experts and scholars. When the meeting ended, thunderous applause erupted, accompanied by the excited cheers of the scientists echoing throughout the conference room. They really were old. Fortunately, the Chinese scientific research community still had successors. It was true that the next generation surpasses the previous one. After saying goodbye to the experts, I went to the security box at the door to retrieve my phone. I turned it on as I walked back to the dormitory in the reception area. When I turned on my phone, I saw a message from Su Qing'an sent around 1100 them. It was just a short good night message. After thinking for a few seconds, I smiled lightly and replied, "Good night. Sweet dreams." As a result, Su Qing'an immediately replied, "Oh my, our busy man finally decided to reply to a message." I paused for a moment and typed back, "You're awake." Su Qing'an immediately gritted her teeth. She hadn't slept at all. For the entire day, apart from one good morning message, Jian Chen hadn't sent anything else, which made her feel an itch in her heart. Sending the good night message was also to get Jian Chen to message back. As a result, she waited and waited until now. Taking a deep breath and quickly calming her emotions, Su Qing'an slowly replied, "Couldn't sleep. Was chatting with my roommate for a bit. Is there a problem?" "No problem." I quickly replied with a few messages asking, "So when are you planning to sleep?" "I don't know." Su Qing'an pouted, hesitated for a few seconds, then immediately sent a question, "Is work very busy? So busy that you don't have time to send me a single message all day?" I secretly replied, "It's quite busy." Su Qing'an quickly replied, "Well, that's good then." She silently gritted her teeth again. "If you're busy, then don't message me. Just focus on your work." However, in the end, she didn't send her inner thoughts and instead curiously asked, "Last time, I was so angry with you that I didn't get to ask. Jian Chen, you disappeared without a word for 3 years. Shouldn't you explain that to me?" But after thinking about it, she felt that saying it like that seemed a bit too rushed, so she continued to write, "Of course, if you feel you don't need to explain to me, that's fine too. After all, we don't really have any relationship." After sending the message, Su Qing'an muttered to herself, "That wretch Jian Chen, disappearing for 3 years without a word. For a beautiful girl like me to still be able to text you so calmly is already a blessing. You better explain clearly why you suddenly left 3 years ago." I hesitated for a moment and then replied, "Qing'an, can we not talk about this?" Su Qing'an was so angry she wanted to smash her bed, but she still managed to calm down and quickly replied, "Oh, okay. Then never mind. I'm going to bed first." Seeing this message, I quickly asked, "Are you angry?" Su Qing'an laughed self-deprecatingly. This blockhead isn't completely hopeless after all. She continued to reply, "No, how would I dare to be angry with the great Jim Chen? What if you get angry, and leave without a word for another 3 years? I froze and hurriedly replied, "No. 3 years ago, there was really a reason I couldn't help. But I promise I will never leave without a word again." Su Qing'an quickly sent a message back, "I'm not anything to you. You don't have to say that to me." I typed a reply, "Aren't we good friends?" Su Qing'an replied immediately, "Just good friends." I immediately replied, "What else could it be?" "Nothing." Su Qing'an angrily pouted. After quickly replying to the message, she helplessly touched her forehead. "Hopeless. This person is truly hopeless. I've made it so obvious, and he still doesn't get the hint." Sighing softly, Su Qing'an quickly replied, "All right then. I want to sleep now. You should rest early too." "Okay, you go to sleep then. Good night, good friend." I sent my good night wish. "Good night," Su Qing'an replied. For the next few days, the two of them chatted casually like this. I would send a good morning, and Su Qing'an would reply with a good morning. Su Qing'an would send a good night, and I would reply with a good night. Other than that, there was no other exchange. However, every time I saw a message from Su Qinghan, it was a rare moment of relaxation for me in this busy research work. 10 days later, the military training at Jiangshan University was about to end. In the facility, enthusiastic applause also rang out. For 10 days and nights, they had been immersed in the research facility just to build the model before them. As long as this model could operate successfully, it would mean that Jiang Chen's theory was effective. Then today would be a day that marked an era. Countless people began to whisper among themselves. To witness the feasibility of spatial warp drive in one's lifetime was truly unbelievable. If the model could operate completely, this would absolutely be a major leap forward in the field of dynamics worldwide. This day would definitely be recorded in history. Very quickly, a research staff member brought a red start button. Director Jian, please press the start button. I took a deep breath, my eyes serious, and pressed the button in my hand. Everyone held their breath. Immediately, the spatial warp drive model began to operate. Powerful electrical energy was transmitted, and the entire research facility began to light up with red glows. A continuous humming sound began to reach everyone's ears. Startup successful. Initiating spatial warp engine bay. Spatial warp engine bay startup successful. Negative energy production complete. Heating up. Detecting negative energy from laser emission. Initiating high-speed particle collection process. Warp field successfully established. Current warp level detected, 0. 1. Preparing to release test object. As the final countdown finished, a 100-kilogram iron ball was directly dropped from above into the warp field. The iron ball, which should have fallen straight down, instead flew forward upon entering the warp field, finally crashing hard into a large iron door 100 meters away. Seeing this scene, everyone's anxious hearts slowly relaxed. The entire facility erupted in frenzied celebration. We succeeded, spatial warp drive is feasible, countless people hugged each other and cried with joy. In the next 5 years, 10 at most, the nation would definitely be able to bring a real spatial warp drive to the world stage. Lin Jianguo's eyes were red. He had experienced almost all the difficulties along the way. He hoped more than anyone that the nation could stand at the pinnacle of the world in the field of space, and today, he had seen it. After the emotional moment, I slowly bowed to everyone. Genshin thanks everyone for their understanding. The rest of the journey will be hard on everyone. But as soon as I bowed, I felt my head getting heavier and heavier, and I immediately thought, oh no. My body had been overexhausted during this time, and my physical strength could no longer hold up. My body subconsciously began to sway slightly. Tianchen, what's wrong with you? Lin Jianguo was the first to notice Jiang Chen's physical condition. Since early this morning, he had felt that my spirits were not right, but because the warp drive model was about to be assembled, I had been holding on. Now that the model test was over, the strength I had been maintaining dissipated. He smiled bitterly. This physique still isn't good enough. Just staying up for 10 days and my spirit is like this. I roughly knew that my current condition was just exhaustion, but I didn't know how many days I would be unconscious. I hoped I wouldn't be out for too long, or else Su Qinghan would worry again. Then, he used my remaining strength to glance at Lin Jianguo. I'll have to trouble you all again this time. The next second, I slowly closed my eyes, and my body uncontrollably began to fall forward. Vaguely, I heard Lin Jianguo shout towards the door, quick, someone, get him to the Bima military hospital. In the sky above Jiangshan University, 4 of the nation's most advanced fighter jets streaked past. In the middle of these 4 fighter jets, an armed transport plane flew steadily. The students on their break all looked up at the sky, their faces slightly amazed. Oh my god, 4 fighter jets as an escort. Who is in that transport plane in the middle? Or are they transporting some important supplies that require fighter jets to be dispatched? Did something big happen? Some students also took out their phones to take pictures. The military instructors, who were usually very gentle, immediately stood up. Everyone, put your phones down. No pictures. Any pictures already taken must be deleted. Along with the continuous shouting, the voice of the chief instructor also came over the loudspeaker. Everyone, break time is over. Put your phones away. In other areas of the capital, no one managed to capture this scene. But surprisingly, either the videos in their hands couldn't be sent out at all, or after being sent, they were deleted in less than a minute. Su Qinghan looked up at the fighter jets streaking across the sky, and for some reason, she suddenly felt her heart tighten. Shin Kao, beside her, quickly noticed her expression. Qinghan, what's wrong? You don't look so good. It's nothing. I just suddenly feel a little uncomfortable. Su Qinghan listlessly shook her head and then forced a smile to reassure Shin Kao. It's okay, I'll be fine after a little rest. However, her eyes remained fixed on the rapidly flying planes in the sky. 3 days later, in a special ward of the capital military hospital. After Jiang Chen was brought to the main hospital in the capital, the higher-ups directly ordered basically all the top experts in the hospital to come for consultation and examination for Jiang Chen, making them all very worried until it was officially determined that Jian Chen was just overly tired and needed rest. Only then did everyone breathe a sigh of relief. On the sports field of Jianchen University, Shen Kao asked Su Qing'an next to her, "Qing'an, want some milk tea?" "No thanks." Su Qing'an seemed distracted, her mood sullen, and she didn't want to eat anything. "What's wrong with you?" Shen Kao asked curiously. "For the past 3 days, you've been so out of it. What happened?" After coming back to her senses, Shen Kao started to smile. "It's not because of Song Jingnian, is it? I heard he's planning to confess to you tonight at the freshman welcoming party. You're not worried about that, are you?" "That's not the main reason," Su Qing'an sighed. 3 days ago, after Jian Chen sent that good morning, he seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. She had sent numerous messages but received no reply. It was as if Jian Chen had gone missing again. At the capital military hospital, while 2 old academicians were arguing, I, lying on the hospital bed, moved my fingers slightly. Then I opened my eyes slightly, looking at Lin Jianwo and Xu Daimin beside me with my remaining vision, and weakly opened my mouth. My phone. "Where's my phone?" Lin Jianwo immediately stood up from the sofa in the ward, overjoyed, and came to my side. "Little Chen, you're awake." Then he shouted towards the outside of the ward, "Doctor, doctor, come quickly, the patient is awake." I looked at the 2 emotional men and thought to myself, didn't I just take a nap? You don't have to be this excited when I wake up. Then I repeated, "Uncles, can one of you help me get my phone? And by the way, how many days was I out this time?" Lin Jianwo nodded repeatedly. 3 days. He went to the table where Jian Chen's personal belongings were placed, found the phone, and immediately handed it to me. I took it and quickly opened the screen. A flood of content immediately appeared before my eyes. It was a long string of messages from Su Qing'an. "Good night. Did you not sleep all night last night? Jian Chen, where are you? Are you planning to go missing again? Why aren't you replying to my messages? Jian Chen, I'm giving you half an hour. If you don't reply, I'll never talk to you again. Jian Chen, you jerk. I'm giving you one last chance to reply. Jian Chen, where did you go? Jian Chen, I hate you." Then there were messages from the guys in my dorm. Xu Yang said, third brother, I have urgent news for you. In 2 days, at our department's freshman welcoming party, the president of the second-year student union is going to confess to Scholar Su. Is your work done yet?" Xu Mingdong and Liu Yu also sent similar messages. "Third brother, your house is about to be raided. Come back quickly." After quickly reading through these messages, I immediately looked up and called out to the doctors who had just reached the door of the ward. "Hey, can I be discharged today?" "What did you say?" Before the doctors could react, the 2 old academicians were worried. Lin Jianwo and Xu Daimin looked at me together. "Little Chen, why do you want to be discharged today? If it's to attend the celebration banquet tonight, we can find someone to pick you up from the hospital and push you in a wheelchair. Or let me be direct, it's best not to go." At this time the doctor also came to me. "Mr. Jian, it's not impossible for you to be discharged today, but can you guarantee your body will recover within half a day?" I nodded vigorously and then looked at the 2 directors. "What are the arrangements for the celebration banquet?" Lin Jianguo opened his mouth. "The venue for the celebration banquet is at the Great Hall. It starts at 700 them. Around 730, there will be an awards ceremony and speeches, then it ends at 800. After that, we'll go to the Goban Hotel Jianshan Pavilion to start the dinner party." I looked at the time of the freshman welcoming party on my phone. It started at 800 them. So I continued to ask, "How long does it take to get from Jianshan Pavilion to our school?" Xu Daimin replied casually, "It's very close, about 10 minutes. Lin Jianwo was immediately stunned. "Little Chen, you're not planning to go back to school, are you? With your current physical condition, will you be okay?" I replied to Lin Jianwo with a determined look. Lin Jianwo nodded as if he understood. "I get it. You're being cheated on." A few black lines appeared on my forehead. I thought, this old man is really keeping up with the times. But I could only cry without tears. "No, I'm not being cheated on. I just have some business at school." Lin Jianwo quickly said, "Little Chen, you don't need to explain. We all understand. What do you want to eat for lunch?" I couldn't be bothered to explain and just said, "Anything that fills me up is fine." At this time, a piece of news on the internet quickly dominated the trending topics. At 700 p.m. tonight, the Chinese Academy of Sciences has an important announcement. The People's Daily will broadcast the entire press conference live. The television station will also broadcast the content of the press conference simultaneously. Everyone, please follow in real time. As soon as this news came out, Weibo immediately exploded. Damn, what did the Chinese Academy of Sciences research this time? You have to know that as an official media outlet, they always just announce things, never hype them up beforehand. This time, something big is definitely happening. Time passed minute by minute. As it got close to evening, At 6:30, I changed into a black suit in the hospital room. Lin Jianguo and Chu Dai-min were already waiting at the door. Seeing me come out in a suit, both of them were stunned. "Little Chen, this is the first time we've seen you in a suit. You look quite handsome, almost as good as I did in my youth." Chu Dai-min smiled and said, "It's good to be in good spirits. After all, you're the main character today. Even if you don't end up on T, you can still leave a good impression on the chairman." Because Jian Chen's identity was still confidential, whether it was the awards or medals, they would be presented privately internally. No media outlet would be able to capture a front-facing or even a side view of Jian Chen. At most it would just be a silhouette. I nodded slightly. "Yes, that's good." Of course I understood what Chu Dai-min said and was very understanding. I had entered the path of scientific research not for fame and fortune. After chatting for a bit, the three of them left the military hospital and got into the black car with a red heart that was already prepared at the door. In just over 10 minutes, the car stopped in front of Jianshan Pavilion. The surrounding area was already cordoned off. Arriving at the main hall on the top floor of Jianshan Pavilion, the atmosphere was extremely solemn. There was no unnecessary noise. Even the media outlets that were allowed to record, after setting up their tripods and adjusting their cameras, waited in silence for the press conference. Nearly 100 white chairs were arranged on the western side of the Great Hall, each with a nameplate. The nameplates of Director Lam Kian-kwok and Director Chu Dai-min were placed in the very first row. Hin's was also in the front row, but positioned slightly to the side. Seeing the seating arrangement, I immediately asked, "Director Chu, Director Lam, isn't it inappropriate for my name to be placed here? This row is filled with the names of the top academicians from the Huaxia Academy of Sciences. What's inappropriate about it?" Director Chu replied at once. "You deserve to sit in the same row as us. Besides, not allowing you to be seen during this event is already a great disservice. This seat is absolutely non-negotiable. Don't worry, the media here are all internal. They have been thoroughly briefed, no cameras will be pointed at you. At most, they'll only capture the back of your head." After speaking, Director Chu sighed. "In the old days, all of us had to conduct our research in anonymity and hardship. But times are different now. When the moment is right, Kin's name will undoubtedly become famous in the global scientific research community. This is the confidence that comes from a rising nation, and in that confidence, Kin has played his part." I hesitated for a few seconds but finally sat down. Soon after everyone was seated, the countdown for the Huaxia Academy of Sciences press conference began its final 5 minutes. In the live broadcast room, nearly 1 million people were watching online. At the same time, in the grand auditorium of Jianshan University, although new and old students of the academy had gathered and filled the seats, Grace was still standing behind the stage curtains. During her break, she exuded a special aura. Standing not far from Grace was William, dressed in a black suit, adjusting his tie. After fixing his tie, William smiled and walked over to Grace. "Well, class president, are you nervous?" "It's fine," Grace replied coolly, then sat down in her chair in the rest area, casually playing on her phone. William was slightly taken aback, but a moment later, his gaze grew even more determined. Tonight, he had to succeed in his confession. Du Duan and the others were sitting in the auditorium seats. The three roommates whispered among themselves, "I wonder if Ken will be late tonight. He just texted, said he's on his way. He'll definitely be at the auditorium before 8:30. Meanwhile, at the Huaxia Academy of Sciences, time ticked by. When the capital's time struck 700 p.m., the press conference that countless people in the live broadcast room and in front of their TVs had been waiting for finally began. The live stream channel immediately opened, and the image of the press conference appeared on television screens. The first thing that caught the eye was a man with silver, white hair. This was the current spokesman for the General News Bureau, Bang. "Good evening, viewers and friends from the media. Welcome to this press conference of the Huaxia Academy of Sciences." Instantly, countless camera flashes went off, and lenses began to snap pictures furiously. Bang announced, "This press conference has only one topic, a major breakthrough that the Huaxia Academy of Sciences has just achieved. During the research process of the scientific team led by an anonymous academician of the Academy, after 3 years of overcoming countless difficulties and obstacles, our country has finally successfully achieved a breakthrough in one-nanometer optical technology research. The birth of this technology will greatly enhance our country's development in the field of science and technology and also signifies that our scientific research team has broken the technological barriers of many foreign tech corporations." As soon as Bang finished his speech, everyone present was stunned. In the live broadcast room, comments flooded the screen. "Oh my god, our country has a 1-nanometer chip. We're really leading the world now. Does this mean the phones we use in the future can all have domestically produced 1-nanometer chips? The gaming speed must be insane." Over at the press conference, after Director Chu finished his introduction of the chip, the entire internet erupted. "My god, are these specs for real? I suspect the old director of the academy is just simplifying it so we can understand." I feel like this isn't even the chip's main highlight. At the end of his speech, Director Chu took the microphone again, his eyes glancing towards Ken sitting in the corner, and slowly began to speak. Finally, I want to tell everyone that although I was the main person in charge of this project, the chief architect of this entire scientific research project was someone else. However, due to confidentiality regulations, we cannot directly announce this scientist's name. Even his picture will not appear in our cameras. But it was he who, 3 years ago, at a time when he should have been living a vibrant life of youth, resolutely left his hometown to lead our research team through one difficulty after another. Only then did we finally obtain the optical technology that truly belongs to our Huaxia nation, and only then did we get the Azure Dragon 1 chip we are presenting today. He is the one who is truly a deserving academician of our nation. Here, as the director of the Huaxia Academy of Sciences, I sincerely thank this outstanding scientist. I sincerely thank the other scientific researchers working silently in the shadows. Thank you for your immense contributions to our country's scientific research. The honor of standing here today belongs to them. As Director Chu's words fell, the comments in the live broadcast room exploded. Very quickly, the press conference concluded. Director Chu walked over to me. "Little Ken, let's go. The chairman is waiting for you in his office." I hesitated for a few seconds, my heart rate uncontrollably quickening. I had been in the research facility for 3 years and had met many high-level leaders, but most of them were in the context of scientific research. This was the first time I would meet the chairman. The next second, I smiled and nodded, following Director Chu out of the banquet hall to an office on the top floor of the building. This was one of the chairman's temporary workplaces. In a spacious room, the floor was covered with a bright red carpet, but the decor was very simple. At that moment, an old man with a weathered face was sitting beside his desk. In front of him was a red certificate of merit, and a small, exquisite box made of sandalwood. The old man slowly walked over to Ken and handed him the certificate. "Little Ken, take this. You deserve this honor." I nodded firmly and accepted the certificate with both hands respectfully. Next, the old man returned to his desk, took a medal from the box, and said with continued seriousness, "In addition, considering the great contributions that Comrade Ken has made to Huaxia, I, on behalf of the organization, specially award you the Huaxia National Service Medal. I hope that in the future, you will continue to strive to take our nation's scientific research to new heights." After speaking, the old man slowly pinned the red medal to Ken's left chest. Finally, after adjusting Ken's collar, the old man looked at me with a kind expression. "Little Ken, this medal ceremony has been an inconvenience for you. When the day comes for the real one, I will personally award it to you in front of all the people of Huaxia." I nodded seriously. After bidding farewell to the chairman, I left the top floor. In the hallway, I raised my hand and looked at the clock on my phone. It was just past 8:10 p.m. After getting into the black sedan that was already waiting at the door, the car sped off towards Jianshan University. In the grand auditorium of Jianshan University, Tutu Duong seemed restless. "What's up with Ken? Didn't he say he was on his way? The show has already started, and he's still not back." But just then, Lu Vu looked up and said, "Ken just replied in the dorm group chat. He said he's on his way, and will be here in 10 minutes for sure." Tutu Duong breathed a sigh of relief. But right at that moment, Lu Vu couldn't help but exclaim, "What's going on?" "Look at the class group chat." The teaching assistant sent a message saying the girl from our class who was supposed to perform suddenly felt unwell, in so much pain she had to go to the infirmary. She probably can't go on stage. He's asking if anyone in the group knows how to play the piano. Does any of you know how to play the piano? Tutu Duong and Tu Mendung both shook their heads. "No, we really don't." Just then, Ken suddenly replied in the class group chat, "I know how. I can substitute for her on stage." Next, I sent another message in the dorm group chat, "How much longer until our class's performance?" Tutu Duong thought for a few seconds and replied, "About half an hour." "Good." I opened the car door, thanked the driver, and immediately ran towards the auditorium entrance. When they saw me appear in a suit, Tutu Duong and the others immediately exclaimed in shock, "Damn, Ken. You're finally back." Tu Mendung even looked me up and down several times. "Where did you get this suit? You look pretty sharp. Just a little less handsome than me." As for the academician's medal pinned to my chest, he completely ignored it. It's normal for a suit to have some kind of pin on it. I didn't have time to chat with them and directly asked, "Where is Grace now?" Lu Vu replied casually, "Where else could she be? She's in the dressing room behind the auditorium stage." My voice was urgent. "Take me to her." Tutu Duong looked helpless. "We can't go. Only performers are allowed backstage." "Not true," Tu Mendung laughed. "We can't, but you can." "Ken, I didn't know you also learned piano." I nodded. "I learned when I was a kid." Tutu Duong immediately clapped his hands. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." In the dressing room, Tu Mendung approached the program coordinator. "Mom, I'm so sorry, but could you let us change the song?" The coordinator immediately looked displeased. "What's wrong with you all? Changing the performer at the last minute, and now you want to change the song too. If every class was like yours, could we even hold this freshman orientation? We're really sorry, Tu Mingdong said, bowing repeatedly. The main thing is, our new replacement isn't too familiar with that piece. Please just let us change it. The coordinator's tone was cold. Where is the replacement? Tell him to come talk to me himself. Tu Mingdong scratched his head. Our Ken is not very good with words, a bit shy. He's standing right here. Please be understanding. The coordinator looked at Ken, and her eyes immediately lit up. You're saying the piano player is him? After hesitating for a few seconds, she slowly said, A Maiden's Prayer. I know that piece. It expresses a young girl's beautiful aspirations. Is he planning to play this for his girlfriend? Tu Mingdong was startled, his eyes darting around for a few seconds before he laughed. Now, how could that be? Our Ken from elementary school until now, let alone dating, he's never even held a girl's hand. The coordinator slowly smiled. Is that so? I'll agree to the song change. But I'm taking a risk for this. In return, you have to do me a small favor. Tu Mingdong nodded. Just say the word. After the freshman orientation ends, I want his contact information. Tu Mingdong made an gesture. No problem. After Tu Mingdong returned, Tu Duong and the others immediately asked curiously, Is it settled? Tu Mingdong smiled smugly. Of course. When I handle things, dealing with one coordinator is a piece of cake. Tu Duong asked, How did you solve it? Tu Mingdong pursed his lips. An exchange. She seems to have a thing for our Ken. In return, after the event ends, I'll give her Ken's contact info. Tu Duong and Lu Vu looked at Ken in surprise. Whoa, is that really okay? But Tu Mingdong asked, Ken, why did you insist on choosing this song? He slowly replied, because I once promised someone I would play it for her during our high school sports festival talent show. But before the show started, I had already transferred schools. Tu Mingdong seemed to understand. That person is Grace, right? He nodded. Yes. Half an hour passed quickly. Grace and William also received the revised host cards. As Grace, holding the new card, prepared to announce the next act, she saw the name written on it, and suddenly froze, her mind going completely blank. William glanced at Grace. Class president, what's wrong? Grace took a deep breath and shook her head, her voice trembling slightly. Next, please welcome Ken from class 1 of the finance department, who will bring us the piano piece, A Maiden's Prayer. As she finished speaking, student union staff came forward, and a piano was moved from the side of the stage to center stage. The coordinator from backstage immediately came over. Alright, Ken, it's your turn to go on stage. After speaking, she smiled at me and gave an encouraging gesture. Good luck. I nodded slightly, then slowly walked from the backstage dressing room, step by step, up the stairs onto the stage. My deep gaze fell on Grace, who was standing on the opposite side of the stage with an expressionless face. I quickly walked before everyone, bowed slightly, and then sat down on the piano bench. The spotlight from above shone directly on me, while a camera at the far end of the stage captured my side profile on the large screen. The female students below immediately erupted in cheers. Sisters, look, that guy on stage is so handsome. Is he also a freshman at Jiangchen University this year? So handsome. Oh my god, I need to get all his information within 3 minutes. At this moment, the melodious sound of the piano played by Ken slowly filled everyone's ears. On one side of the stage, William noticed the emotional shift in Grace and hurriedly asked, Class president, what's wrong? Ever since the freshman named Ken came on stage, he had noticed that Grace's mood was off. Grace shook her head. Nothing. As she looked up, her eyes immediately met mine. Instinctively, Grace's gaze began to avoid mine. I sighed inwardly but also slowly withdrew my gaze, starting to focus on my performance. Until the end of the piece, I stood up again, walked to the center of the stage, bowed slightly to the audience below, then stood to one side, giving Grace a deep look before slowly walking off stage. Grace quickly composed herself and went on stage with William to introduce the next act. When it was over, she said to William, I have something to do. I'm going backstage for a bit. If I'm not back in time, just host by yourself. After saying that, Grace, in her red high heels, lifted her long skirt and quickly chased after Ken. As soon as Grace walked from the stage into the dressing room, her right hand was grabbed by me. Come outside with me for a bit. Grace didn't struggle. I pulled Grace out of the dressing room with an expressionless face. As soon as the dressing room door closed, she suddenly yanked her hand free from mine. She looked at me coldly. Ken, have you had enough fun? Disappearing for 3 days without a word, now suddenly showing up and performing on stage. Why did you pull me out here? Do you find this amusing? Or do you want to see how I've been living these past few days? I looked apologetic. Grace, I don't know how to explain. How could I tell her I had been asleep in a hospital for 3 days? You what? Grace laughed coldly. Ken, I admit I used to like you in high school. I was even happy when school started, and I found out you weren't dead. Because I still had old feelings for you, I rushed to the men's dorm gate to wait for you early in the morning. But that's not a reason for you to toy with me again and again. The last time you disappeared without a word, I didn't ask why. But now you disappear again for 3 days without a peep. What are you doing? Not answering calls, not replying to texts. Do you really think that because I like you, you can do whatever you want in front of me? Grace, I really didn't mean to, I hurriedly explained. There was a reason I didn't reply to your messages for 3 days. I really didn't mean to. Besides, I came to Junction University for you. Can you give me one more chance? I promise I'll never disappear without a reason again. Grace laughed coldly. Is that your explanation? I answered awkwardly, I really ran into some trouble at the time. Then tell me, what was the reason? No matter how busy you were, couldn't you have sent a single text? I sighed, unable to speak. Grace was completely disappointed. Forget it, you don't need to explain anymore. Ken, I don't care about the reason you suddenly disappeared 3 years ago, and I don't care why you're at Junction University now. I don't care about any of it anymore. Over these 3 days, I've thought it through clearly. Whether you want to reply to messages or not, go wherever you want, be as free as you please. From now on, your life has absolutely nothing to do with me. That way, I won't have to anxiously worry about when you're going to disappear without a word again. I'm so tired, Ken. I won't like you anymore. By the end, Grace was almost shouting. Let's just stop here. We'll go our separate ways. From now on, let's just pretend we don't know each other. After speaking, Grace walked past me expressionlessly, quickly pushed open the back door of the dressing room, and strode inside, drawing the gazes of everyone around. Then she went back on stage. On the side, a single glistening tear silently fell from her beautiful eyes but was quickly wiped away. Taking a deep breath, she suppressed the pain in her heart and forced a smile onto her face. The expressionless look she gave me as she walked past was all an act. But the story could only end here. Perhaps only by completely letting go could she stop worrying about when Ken would disappear again. Her youth was completely over. I watched Grace's departing back, wanting to speak up and stop her, but after thinking for a long time, I finally turned around silently. On stage, William quickly walked over to Grace and asked with concern, "Class president, what's wrong? Did something happen?" "Nothing." Grace shook her head expressionlessly, then paid no more attention to William, her vacant eyes staring at the performers on stage. She had heard the piano piece I just played, but hearing the song delayed by 3 years now held no meaning. Time flew by. The freshman orientation program lasted only 2 hours. When the final act concluded, Grace and William went on stage together to read the closing remarks. However, as the closing remarks finished and everyone was preparing to leave, perhaps arranged by William, the stage spotlight suddenly focused on him. Then, a student from the side of the stage immediately brought out a bucket of roses and handed it to William. Seeing this scene on the big screen, the students who were about to leave all sat back down, their faces eager to watch the show. William held the microphone and looked at the crowd below. "Excuse me for a few minutes. I hope everyone can witness this moment for me." After speaking, he held the bucket and presented it to Grace, slowly saying, "Grace, from the first time I met you in our freshman year, I fell deeply in love with you. Now, I am confessing to you in front of all the students in our department. I've liked you for a year and pursued you for a year. I want to understand you, to know the world through your eyes. I don't know when it happened, but I realized I can't live without you. So today, I hope you can give me a chance for me to stand by your side, officially. To be with you." As he finished speaking, the entire auditorium fell silent. The next second, the people below started to buzz with discussion. "Whoa, a confession in front of the whole department, so romantic. I think it's more like moral pressure. No wonder he pursued her for a year, and she ignored him. Isn't this just putting her on the spot? Grace is the #1 beauty of Junction University. But I heard the guy on stage has been pursuing her for a year, and his family background is pretty good. I wonder if she'll agree." Chu Mingdong cursed directly, "This bastard. In front of so many people, how can she agree or disagree?" Then he looked at me. "Can, what do you say? Should we go beat him up? I hate this kind of man the most." But before I could speak, Grace directly said to William, "I'm sorry. I know that my accepting your confession is the outcome you desire. But for me, if I want to be with someone, I have to truly like them. Unfortunately, I can't like you the way you like me, so I can't accept." After speaking, Grace's expression gradually turned cold. "Also, William, I've told you very clearly that I don't like you. So today is the last time. There won't be a next time. Finally, I'll give you a piece of advice. If you insist on pushing a door that can't be pushed, that's not called liking someone, it's called harassment." Grace's voice wasn't loud, but her words spread throughout the auditorium via the microphone she held. After speaking, she directly put down the microphone and turned to leave without hesitation. Tu Duong pursed his lips. This guy, really. She made it clear she doesn't like him, and he still pesters her. A sighed in relief and slowly said, "Alright, the show's over. Let's go back to the dorm, shower, and change." Two men Dom and the others nodded repeatedly. I looked up at Grace's departing figure, sighed softly, and then resolutely followed Tu Duong and the others out. Love and ideals are not mutually exclusive. I won't give up so easily. On the main campus road, Chloe stood beside Grace and said in surprise, "Grace, the look on your face when you rejected William just now was so cold. Too bad for our old William, he failed again. Are we really leaving so heartlessly? Then why don't you go be his girlfriend?" Grace shot Chloe an annoyed glance. "Anyway, I don't like him. He insisted on confessing in front of so many people. What was I supposed to do? Dislike is dislike. No matter how moved one is, it's not love. Since he could grandly confess in front of so many people, he should also be prepared for failure. I'm not going to indulge his bad habits." "That makes sense," Chloe nodded, then continued, "Let's talk about something else. Did your junior, Ken, look for you backstage just now? What happened between you two?" Grace's expression immediately turned cold. "Don't mention him to me. From now on I have no relationship with him. In my heart, he died 3 years ago." Chloe hesitated for a few seconds. She had realized Grace's mood was very unstable, especially when I was mentioned. It was as if she wanted to kill someone. "Then let's talk about something else." With a forced smile, Chloe held up her phone, showing the screen to Grace. "Look at this news online. Our Huaxia Academy of Sciences has developed 1 nanometer precision optical technology, and even made a 1 nanometer level chip. It probably won't be long before we can use chips made by our own country. This time, I'm definitely supporting domestic products." "Not interested," Grace said, her mood low. However, after glancing at Chloe's phone screen, she turned her head away, but then immediately turned back and snatched the phone from Chloe's hand. "Wait, let me take a closer look." After speaking, Grace stared intently at the photo of the Huaxia Academy of Sciences press conference on Weibo on Chloe's phone, zooming in and observing it carefully. Chloe asked curiously, "It's just a press conference photo, what's so interesting?" Grace was truly stunned. Although it was only a picture of Ken's back, in the closest position in the front row, the attire and figure of that back were identical to Ken's. Other things could be mistaken, but she could never mistake his back. Thinking about the medal that looked like a youth league badge he wore on his chest earlier, she hadn't thought much of it at first. But after seeing this photo of his back, a bold idea immediately popped into her head. His disappearance wasn't because he was attending this press conference, was it? "E2, I advise you not to interfere in unrelated matters." Grace was a little skeptical. How old was Ken? What connections could he have to attend a press conference of this level? The attendees must all be top figures in the scientific research industry. Moreover, for him to sit in the front row was even more unimaginable. But she absolutely couldn't mistake his back. Was it an illusion? "Chloe, let's go back to the dorm." Grace couldn't be bothered to think anymore. She directly took off her high heels, carried them in her hand, and ran quickly down the main campus road. After returning to the dorm, Grace found a large photo published by the People's Daily, examined it carefully for a while, then immediately opened her computer and quickly searched online. What metal has a red background, a 5-pointed golden star in the center with a crossed hammer and sickle? The search engine quickly displayed a series of images in front of Grace. The August 1st medal, the Medal of Independence and Freedom, the Medal of Heroic Honor, the Medal of Victory and Meritorious Service, and many other first and second class military merit medals. Among the various medals, many looked similar to the one Ken wore, but they also seemed different from all of them. Chloe, beside her, asked curiously, "Grace, what are you looking for online?" Grace quickly closed the webpage. "Nothing, just looking for some materials. I've found them now." Then she asked, "Chloe, who do you think attended the Huaxia Academy of Sciences press conference?" Chloe thought for a few seconds. Probably some academicians from the academy, some veteran researchers, or some leaders from the General Administration of Science and Technology. "That makes sense," Grace nodded slowly, then couldn't help but laugh at herself. What was she expecting just now? That he couldn't use his phone to message her for 3 days because he had to attend the press conference and was bound by some confidentiality agreement. How could that be possible? Besides, even if it really was Ken, what did it have to do with her? She and he were already in the past. Over here, after returning to the dorm, I changed out of the suit, then carefully removed the National Service medal from the jacket and put it away in my desk drawer. Then I grabbed a change of clothes and headed to the dorm's bathroom to shower. At 10:30 p.m., I went with Tu Duong and the others to a karaoke bar in the city center. The organizer of this activity was our class's temporary class president. He raised his glass and said to everyone in the room, "Military training is finally over. We have tomorrow off, so tonight, let's drink until we can't get home." The others responded, "Then we'll have to trouble our class president to foot the bill today." The temporary class president nodded repeatedly. "You're all too kind. Alright, everyone pick your songs, sing, and have fun. Then, everyone went about choosing songs or sitting down to drink and chat. The temporary class president brought his drink over to our group, looked at me for a moment, and then smiled. This must be the classmate who arrived the latest in our class, right? Hello. I slowly nodded. The temporary class president immediately raised his glass. We're classmates from now on. Here, let me toast you. I repeatedly shook my head. I haven't been well these past few days, I can't drink. I'm sorry. Chutu Duong raised his own glass. Come on, class president, our Ken hasn't been well. I'll drink on his behalf. The temporary class president frowned slightly but still smiled at Tutu Duong. Alright. We'll drink then. After downing a glass, this temporary class president turned and left. I thought for a few seconds and looked at Tu Min Dong beside me. What's with this guy? Isn't he a bit too enthusiastic? What else could it be? Tu Min Dong sneered. You didn't participate in military training, so you don't know. This guy has a strong desire to show off. On the first day of freshman orientation, he nominated himself to be the temporary class president. He also organized tonight's gathering. He probably wants to get rid of the temporary part. University is practically a small society. Those who can get into Jiancheng University are generally not fools. This isn't a middle school or high school class president. This is the class president of a class in a department at Jiancheng University. Just this title alone, put on a student's file, will surely make their future path smoother than others. The value of this class presidency is not low. I nodded, then said to Tu Min Dong and the others, I am stepping out for a bit, need to use the restroom. But the capital was the capital, after all, and this was a karaoke bar near the city center. I walked around the place once without finding the restroom. But just then, a group of men and women suddenly ran out from a side corridor. Seeing this, I instinctively tried to get out of the way. What's going on? Why are they running so fast? Is there a fight in the karaoke bar? Following the principle of avoiding danger, I immediately prepared to slip away. As a result, at that moment, the shouts of several men suddenly rang in my ears. Stop, don't run. I turned my head and immediately saw several men chasing after them. I quickened my retreat. As a result, before I could run 2 steps, one of the pursuing men grabbed me by the collar. Freeze. I immediately stopped and turned to look at the man. Hey friend, what's going on? I'm a police officer, the man grunted, then grabbed my collar and turned me around. Behave and come back to the room with me first. We'll take you all to the station later. Why? It felt wronged. It felt very wronged. I hadn't even found the restroom, and I was already being taken to the station. What crime had I committed? Who are you guys? I continued to ask. Who are we? Don't you know in your heart? The man sneered. Prostitution rate. Damn, I couldn't help but curse. Why are you arresting me? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm innocent. Everyone we catch says they didn't do anything wrong. The man laughed coldly. If you're innocent, why did you run when you saw us? Stop talking nonsense and come back to the room with me first. After speaking, this man led me back to a room. The room was dark, with 7 or 8 men and women squatting inside. Then, more people were brought in one by one. Seeing this, I continued to explain, Officer, sir, I'm really not in the same room as them. I just came here to sing with my friends. If you don't believe me, I can call them to prove it. One of the men looked at me, then compared me with the others in the room, and slowly nodded. Fine, make the call. I immediately sobered up and quickly took out my phone to call the dorm group. As a result, perhaps because the noise in the karaoke bar was too loud or they were drunk, no one answered. The man continued to ask, do you remember the room number? I thought about it. I had really only been to this karaoke bar a few times. My face went blank as I realized Tutu Duong and the others had led me straight into the room. Then I scratched my head. I forgot. I have no idea what the room number is. The man's expression darkened. Then just stay here for now. We'll go to the station later. If there's nothing wrong with you, you'll naturally be able to leave. Our station isn't far from here. You can call your friends to pick you up then. Call my friends to pick me up. My eyes lit up as I looked at the people around me, my mind racing. At that moment, the door to the room was pushed open. 2 men in black long coats walked up to the several police officers and took out their credentials. Comrades, we can prove that he is not one of the people in this room. Therefore, we must take this person with us. The leading police officer took the credentials from the 2 men and turned on the lights in the room. After clearly seeing the contents of the credentials, his expression immediately became serious. He raised his hand in a salute. Yes, comrades. These are credentials from the National Security Bureau. I immediately looked up and directly asked, you guys are from the National Security Bureau. The 2 national security agents returned the salute and then nodded at me. Mr. Ken, we were sent by our superiors to protect your personal safety. At that moment, my gaze immediately turned resentful. You 2 comrades, I don't know you. I advise you not to interfere in unrelated matters. The two national security agents seemed not to understand. It's fine if you don't know us, but what does "don't interfere in unrelated matters" mean? Bro, we're here to save you. At this moment, Tutu Duong also called. After I answer, Tutu Duong's voice immediately came through. Ken, why did you call me? I replied, it's nothing. I just have something to deal with. You guys go ahead and have fun. So are you coming back later? Tutu Duong continued to ask. That depends on the situation. Alright, then you go ahead with your business. The room was completely silent, especially the group of men and women squatting on the floor, their expressions utterly dumbfounded. Bro, what's wrong with you? Someone came to save you, and you won't go. Your dorm mate called and could prove your identity, and you won't go. What's the situation? Do you want to go to the station for tea that badly? At this moment, a young man squatting in the corner stood up. Officer, sir, I can vouch for this guy. He's really not from our room. Please let him go. And you, he said to me, don't meddle in things that don't concern you. I glanced at the young man, then looked at the leading police officer and asked, Officer, sir, so later when I'm taken in and it's confirmed I'm fine, I can call someone to pick me up, right? The police officer looked confused. That's right. That's all I need. I nodded leisurely and asked, so when are we leaving? If it gets any later, my dorm will probably be locked, and the person picking me up won't be able to get out. Who are you planning to call to pick you up? The police officer looked helpless. The people from the National Security Bureau are here to vouch for you, and you still won't go. What are you doing? Messing with them for fun. I said leisurely, isn't the reason obvious? Being arrested by you officers in a prostitution raid. The corners of the two national security agents' mouths twitch. Is this really the person our superiors told us to protect carefully? The pillar of the nation, a genius in scientific research. Is there something wrong with his head? At this moment, I looked curiously at the two national security agents and walked up to them. You two have been by my side all this time. The two agents looked at each other. One of them typed a message on his phone and showed it to me. Because your identity was previously leaked online, to prevent foreign organizations from causing you harm, we will be by your side to protect you for the time being. My expression turned slightly serious. Thanks, you've worked hard. Then I looked back at the police officer. Officer, sir, isn't this a normal karaoke bar? Why are you guys conducting a prostitution raid here? More importantly, how did they get raided? One of the officers explained, we received a tip earlier that although this karaoke bar appears to be a normal one on the surface, it also secretly brings in some special individuals to cater to the needs of some major clients. We've been monitoring them for several days before making our move today. I nodded slowly. So, when are we going to the station? Right now. Very quickly, after the police officers had arrested the relevant individuals, they took them, along with me, a willing participant, into the police car. Of course there was nothing to interrogate me about. With the national security agents escorting me and verification from the surveillance cameras that I was just mistakenly arrested, I was cleared after a simple report was filed. The two national security agents also disappeared. They were only responsible for protecting my safety from the shadows. Looking at the time on my phone, it was only 11:20 am. There were still 40 minutes until our school's 1200 am curfew. Thinking for a few seconds, I immediately picked up my phone and sent a message to Grace. Grace, save me. On the other end, when Grace saw the messages sent, her heart skipped a beat. She first replied with a question mark, then continued to ask, what's wrong? I was arrested in a prostitution raid, and need someone to bail me out. Grace was immediately stunned and texted back directly, Ken, are you insane? After sending this message, she felt like she couldn't breathe. Arrested in a prostitution raid. 3 years ago, he was so innocent. Now he gets arrested in a prostitution raid. What has he been through these past 3 years? The next second, she sent a 60-second voice message. I directly chose not to listen to it. Then, Grace texted again, can't the people in your dorm come get you? Does it have to be me? What's our relationship? Their phones are unreachable, don't know where they went. Just consider it for old times' sake. Therefore, the most accurate approach is to use the original Vietnamese names in the English translation to avoid introducing inaccuracies. Here is the translated text with the original character names. Responsabody Uni, can you come pick me up? You wouldn't just see me in trouble and not help, would you? I was arrested by mistake. I just need someone to sign for my bail. Then he immediately fell silent, but after a few seconds of hesitation with a complicated expression, she still replied to the message. She was busy hosting an event and was tired after a long night, not wanting to run around. But who could resist him? They got in her heart. Half an hour later, Then arrived at the police station where I was being held. "Hello, how can I help you?" A police officer at the reception desk asked. Danhin said with a look of helplessness, "Excuse me, is there a person named Jongthan being held here? I am here to bail him out. You're his girlfriend, right?" The officer immediately smiled. "Did you have a fight with your boyfriend?" Hurry up and take him home. He's not my boyfriend, Dunhin said with a cold expression, but she asked curiously, but what do you mean by hurry up and take him home? The officer immediately explained, your boyfriend's story has spread throughout our station. He was probably singing karaoke with a group of his dorm mates and happened to run into our officers on duty and was mistakenly arrested. Although his innocence was proven right at the karaoke bar, he insisted on coming back to the station with our officers, saying he was waiting for his girlfriend to pick him up. After speaking, the officer added, there's no argument that a couple can't overcome. Take him home and teach him a lesson. Even husbands and wives fight and make up. I think your boyfriend is really trying hard to see you. I've been a police officer for many years, but this is the first time I've seen someone voluntarily ask to come to the station to see their girlfriend. Dunhin immediately gave an embarrassed smile. Yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you for your trouble. Then, under the guidance of the officer, Dunhin quickly found me sitting in the waiting room. After the officer left, her expression immediately turned cold as she strode towards me. How dare you lie to me, Jungthin, you're done for. When she reached me, Dunhin opened her mouth coldly. Jungthin, are you crazy? I already told you, we're going our separate ways from now on. Or do you not understand what that means? I've seen people with their feet bound, but never with their brains bound. It was really unnecessary for you to drag me all the way here just to scold you. For this, you came to the police station. Why don't you just let the police lock you up for a few days to cool off? I slowly lifted my head, but even if I were really locked up by the police, it would be better than you really not wanting to see me anymore. Dunhin was immediately stunned. Have you ever seen a nearly 118 tall guy with a pitiful expression? Especially when combined with my rather charming face. Are you trying to act cute with me? Dunhin's expression immediately stiffened. Don't pretend to be pitiful. Get up for me right now. Do you believe I'll hit you so hard your health insurance card will go into debt? I didn't back down, raising my head. I've had my rabies shot. You think I'm scared of you? Dunhin almost burst out laughing from anger. Right. You're the one who's not afraid to go to the police station. So what are you afraid of? If you're so brave, then don't text me to come pick you up. I shrank back. I'm not brave, pitiful, serious, and timid. Dunhin was helpless. Let's go. Do you want to spend the night here? He stood up silently and stood next to Dunhin like a little why. It wasn't until we left the police station that Dunhin stood in front of me and asked, let's talk. I nodded slightly. Then, my stomach rumbled. Hungry. Then let's grab a bite to eat. The two of us walked down the street without a word, and finally found a barbecue stall in a corner. After ordering some grilled food, Dunhin asked the owner for 2 cold beers. She opened them with a bottle opener and immediately poured herself a glass, then poured one for me. Raising her glass, she looked at me and asked, a drink first. I looked at the beer in front of me and remembered the doctor's words when I was discharged from the hospital this afternoon. For the next 2 days, you must eat light food, no smoking, no alcohol, you hear me? But the next second, I nodded without hesitation, raised the beer in front of me, clinked glasses with Dunhin, and then drank the entire glass in one go. The bone-chilling coldness made my whole body break out in goosebumps. But the next second, I stole a glance at Dunhin from the corner of my eye. Dunhin immediately reacted, what are you looking at me for? I shrank back again, nothing. Then why are you still looking? Dunhin couldn't help but soften her heart, and said no more. After putting down her glass, she looked up at me and asked, alright, tell me. You went through all this trouble to get me out here, what is it for? I looked at Dunhin and asked in a firm tone, can't your attitude be a little less cold? No. Fine. I pouted in disappointment, then looked up at Dunhin and continued, I called you out here just to apologize to you. 3 years ago, I really had a special reason for leaving without saying goodbye. And for the past 3 days, something came up, so I didn't text you. I'm sorry for making you worry. Oh, you know how to apologize. Dunhin felt as if the sky was falling and couldn't help but say sarcastically, 3 years ago, when you left without a word, why didn't you think that you would have to apologize to me for this later? As for what happened 3 days ago, I'm not angry anymore. You don't need to apologize to me. I shook my head stubbornly, look at your face right now, you're clearly still angry at me for what happened 3 days ago. No, I'm not, Dunhin said firmly. You clearly are. I said I'm not, so I'm not. Alright, I nodded weakly, if you say you're not, then you're not. Then I muttered to myself, damn, I wasn't even this aggrieved at the research facility. What's going on now? This girl, after 3 years, her temper has gotten bigger. Dunhin looked up and stared at me. Are you cursing me in your heart? What? I immediately looked up, then quickly came to my senses and shook my head. No, how would I dare to such a bold thought? Still say you're not. Dunhin pouted. Looking at your embarrassed expression, I know you must be secretly cursing me. I continued to stubbornly raise my head, then you just said I was dead. Dunhin was speechless, so you called me out here to argue. No, I quickly shook my head, to apologize, very sincerely. What kind of apology? How about I write a 1,000-word self-criticism? Thanhin shook her head. Not sincere enough. 1,500 words. Not sincere enough. Then 3,000 words. Not sincere enough. Then 2,000 words. Jungthan, are you still trying to bargain? Thanhin immediately looked up and glanced at me. Then what do I have to do for you to forgive me? Thanhin thought for a few seconds. It's very simple. Either you honestly tell me what you've been doing for the past 3 years, and why you suddenly didn't reply to my messages 3 days ago. You tell me these things, and I'll immediately forgive you. We can still be friends after this. Otherwise, we can't even be friends. After speaking, she looked at me expectantly. Tell me, I've already given you a way out. Just say it, even if it's a lie, I might forgive you. I pondered for a few seconds. Why are you so insistent on what happened 3 years ago? Can't I be? Then there's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. My forehead was sweating a little. No wonder they say women are hard to please. I'd rather go back to the research facility to study the curvature of spacetime, or even solve one of the 7 Millennium Prize problems of the world. It would be easier than coaxing a woman. Then why can't you say it? Because I don't want to use this to play the victim in front of you. I took a deep breath, and my acting skills at the level of a movie star immediately took over. 3 years ago, I got sick, so my whole family moved to the capital just for my treatment. What kind of sickness? I gritted my teeth. Leukemia. Thanhin was stunned. The next moment, her eyes turned red. Then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you text me to let me know? You just ran away on your own, thinking you were so righteous, running away alone, suffering in secret. You think that's so cool? Do you know how worried I've been about you for the past 3 years? By the end of her sentence, Thanhin was almost screaming. My heart suddenly clenched. I raised my hand slightly, hesitating, but finally gently took Thanhin's hand. Thanhin, I'm sorry. It's not that I didn't want to tell Thanhin the truth, but ever since I developed the 1-nanometer optical technology, I knew that in this life, I was destined to be anonymous, to work in obscurity. I felt guilty towards Thanhin, but I have no regrets about dedicating myself to the country. Thanhin quickly composed herself, took a tissue from the table to wipe her tears, and her gentle tone gradually became cold again. No need, you don't need to apologize to me. I just don't understand. If it was just for treatment, why couldn't you tell me? But as soon as she thought about me having leukemia, her voice couldn't help but tremble. Even with leukemia, with the current medical standards in the country, it's not necessarily incurable. But I was scared. I let out a cold breath. I was scared I didn't know when I would die on the operating table. I was also scared that this disease would never be cured. At the end, I sighed. I was even more scared that I couldn't give you a definite promise. 3 years ago, even with the eternal treasure of knowledge, I didn't know where my future lay, let alone give Thanhin a definite promise. With an unknown future and no set return date, if I couldn't be with you for a long time, why should I bother you? Thanhin looked at me with pity. So how did you live for the past 3 years? I smiled, looking at every picture you posted on social media, seeing if you did well on your exams, seeing if you took your medicine properly when you had a cold, watching you grow from 16 to 19 years old. During those 3 years, amidst the tedious scientific research, looking at Thanhin's social media was my greatest joy every day. Then why didn't you reply to my message 3 days ago? Thanhin continued to ask. During the military training, I went to the hospital for my final surgery. The anesthetic was too strong, and I slept for 3 whole days, I said slowly. But luckily, if it doesn't relapse after I'm 25, I'll be fine. This was also a promise to Thanhin. Before I turn 25, I must bring China's national defense strength to the forefront of the world. When that day truly comes, I will stand proudly in front of Thanhin, bathed in the sun, and proudly tell her that the boy she liked in her youth was actually a very extraordinary man. It definitely won't relapse. Thanhin's eyes were firm, and her voice gradually became more relaxed. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. The grilled food is about to be served. Let's get ready for a late-night snack. So, does that mean you've forgiven me? Not yet. Then what else do you want me to do? You're paying for tonight's late-night snack. After we finished our late-night snack, I paid the bill, and then led Thanhin out of the barbecue stall. Where are we going now? I looked at Thanhin and asked. Thanhin slowly nodded. A hotel. I hesitated for a few seconds. Isn't that a bit too fast? Maybe we should wait a little longer. Thanhin immediately glared at me. Don't get the wrong idea. It's so late, the dormitory is already closed. Do you think you can still go back? I said let's go to a hotel to get 2 rooms to sleep. Or do you want me to sleep on the street with you? That's fine too. I nodded silently. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew by. It was probably already early morning. The cold wind made Thanhin shiver, and she quickly brought her hands to her mouth to blow on them. Is it a little cold? I moved closer to Thanhin and raised my hand, intending to take her hand. Thanhin immediately dodged to the side. Hey, what are you doing? I consider you a friend. Are you trying to take advantage of me? I scratched my head in embarrassment. I just saw that your hands were cold and wanted to warm them up for you. Men and women shouldn't be so close. Danhan's cheeks were slightly flushed. Aren't you my ex-boyfriend? That's just what I say to outsiders. Fine then. I was a little disappointed. But just then, Danhan suddenly extended her hand in front of me. Warm them up. I suddenly smiled. Didn't you say men and women shouldn't be so close? If you want to warm them, warm them. If not, then forget it. Danhan was about to pull her hand back, but I immediately grabbed it. In the end, we walked into the door of a hotel together. What a hassle. Give us 2 rooms. The man at the hotel reception looked at the two of us, still holding hands, with a hint of surprise, then said unhappily, right now, our hotel only has deluxe double rooms left. The room rate is 400, with a 200 deposit. Do you want it? I hesitated for a few seconds and looked at Danhan, asking, how about we find another hotel? Danhan took out her phone and searched for a while, finding that all the surrounding hotels were full. She then asked, is there a sofa in the room? Yes, the man nodded slightly. Danhan nodded, then book 1 room. Then she explained to me, all the hotels within a 1-kilometer radius are full. Let's just book 1 room. Tonight, you can sleep on the sofa, and I'll sleep on the bed, okay? Very quickly, since neither of us had our IDs, after registering with our electronic IDs on our phones, the receptionist gave us a room. As soon as we entered the room, we saw that the large bed in the middle of the room was covered with a white sheet, with rose petals arranged in the shape of a heart. Seeing this, Danhan immediately blushed. I was also stunned for a moment, then foolishly raised my head and asked Danhan, how about I clean this up? Okay, I'll go to the bathroom first. Danhan quickly nodded and then rushed into the bathroom. She quickly turned on the faucet, splashed some cold water on her face, and then looked in the mirror and encouraged herself, Danhan, you have to control yourself. When Danhan came out, I had already swept all the rose petals on the bed into the trash can next to it. Do you want to take a shower before you sleep? I asked a little eagerly. To be honest, this was the first time I had booked a room with a girl. I already showered before I came out, Danhan replied quickly, then asked back, what about you? I showered too, I answered awkwardly. Then let's go to bed. Danhan took a deep breath, and sat down on the bed. I took out a pillow and threw it on the sofa, saying to her, I'll be troubling you to sleep on the sofa tonight. It's okay, I nodded slightly and then lay down on the sofa. But just then, strange sounds suddenly came from the room above us. Hearing this, both of our expressions immediately froze. In addition to the awkwardness, I quickly waved my hand, turn off the lights and go to sleep. Danhan nodded and, without changing her clothes, jumped onto the bed and turned off all the lights in the room. Finally, after about 20 minutes, the noise from upstairs gradually subsided. The moonlight hung high outside the window. Danhan suddenly opened her eyes and secretly glanced at me, asking, Jonathan, are you asleep? My voice was a little shaky. Yeah. It's summer now, and the air conditioner in the room is a bit cold. I feel like I'm about to shiver. Danhan thought for a few seconds. Why does your voice sound like that? Are you cold? She hesitated for a few seconds, then slowly opened her mouth. How about you come up here and sleep? But there's a line in the middle that no one is allowed to cross. My eyes immediately lit up. If you say that, then I'm not sleepy anymore. Perhaps afraid that I would misunderstand, Danhan continued. Jonathan, I just don't want you to catch a cold. Don't get the wrong idea, and definitely don't do anything funny. As a result, before she could finish her sentence, I had already jumped from the sofa onto the bed. In the darkness, 2 pairs of trembling eyes slowly met. Seeing me jump in with lightning speed, Danhan's eyelashes immediately fluttered slightly. You're not allowed to move. Absolutely not moving, I nodded vigorously. But the next second, Danhan cried out, didn't you say you wouldn't move? Why are you holding my hand? I'm afraid of the dark. Danhan. If I believe your nonsense tonight, then there really are ghosts. However, she still held my slightly cold hand tightly and grunted softly. Just hold hands like this. Don't move anymore. I nodded. The next moment, the room gradually became quiet, with only the sound of 2 people's steady breathing. Half an hour later, I suddenly opened my eyes again. How funny, it's not even as good as sleeping on the sofa. The bed is warm, but I can't sleep at all. I slightly opened my eyes and looked at Danhan next to me. Seeing that her breathing was steady and she seemed to be asleep, I also fell asleep. In fact, Danhan was not asleep. She stared at me for a while, and when she saw that I seemed to be asleep, her dangling heart gradually settled down, and her whole body gradually relaxed. But the next second, she inexplicably glared at me. A beautiful woman like me is sleeping next to you, and you actually fell asleep. Are you even a man? That's why they say girls are the most adorable and complicated creatures in the universe. For example, at this moment, she both didn't want you to do anything funny, and didn't want you to do nothing at all. The next day, around noon, the sunlight outside the window shone through the glass onto the quilt on the bed. Danhan's phone suddenly rang. Who is it? Thanhin, feeling a little annoyed, fumbled around her pillow a few times, opened her eyes to see that it was Thamkyu calling, and immediately swiped the screen to answer. Thamkyu's curious voice quickly came through the phone. Thanhin, what's wrong? It's almost noon and you're still not back at school. This was the first time in over a year of college that Thanhin had not returned to the dormitory. It's already noon. Thanhin was a little sleepy, but then her expression immediately froze. She felt something heavy pressing down on her, especially on her chest. The next second. Junvin, wake up, Thanhin screamed. Junvin. Which Junvin? Thamkyu on the phone was immediately surprised. Thanhin, you didn't come back to the dormitory last night, you didn't go out and book a room with him, did you? Kyo, I have something to do here, I'll explain to you later. Thanhin quickly explained, and then hung up the phone. At this time, I was also woken up and slowly opened my eyes. Feeling my hand resting on a very soft place, I instinctively squeezed it. Are you still moving? Thanhin blushed with shame. I sat up, a little dazed, and rubbed my still sleepy eyes, immediately asking, Thanhin, what's wrong? As a result, the next second, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw a hand coming from a distance, and finally slapped my face hard. Thanhin said angrily, you still have the nerve to ask me what's wrong. I was a little aggrieved. Why did you slap me as soon as I woke up? I didn't do anything out of line last night. Thanhin's face was as red as if it was about to drip water. Your hand was just now on. At the end, she really couldn't say it. I immediately woke up completely and hurriedly explained, I didn't do it on purpose. Don't say any more. Thanhin quickly got out of bed and glared at me. You are not allowed to mention this again, and you are not allowed to let others know. I nodded repeatedly. Understood, understood. Then, the next second, I took a sharp breath and quickly rubbed my cheek. I have to say, Thanhin's slap was really hard. Are you okay? Thanhin came to me with concern and quickly reached out her hand to rub it for me. As a result, she grabbed the hand that was rubbing my cheek. At that moment, a feeling like an electric current ran between their hands. Thanhin quickly pulled her hand back, her eyes not daring to look directly at me. I'll get up first. Then she quickly got out of bed and ran into the bathroom. Seeing Thanhin run away, I took a sharp breath and quickly rubbed my cheek. My god, that slap was so hard. Then I quickly took out my phone, opened the camera, and saw a red handprint gradually appearing. My mouth twitched. My face is ruined. Damn, how am I supposed to go out and see people like this? Then I also quickly got out of bed. Hearing the sound of running water from the sink in the bathroom, I knocked on the frosted glass door of the bathroom. Thanhin immediately opened the glass door. The blush on her face had faded a lot, but her eyes were still a little evasive when she looked at me. She opened her mouth and asked, what's the matter? I pointed to the obvious handprint on my cheek, and directly blocked the bathroom door. My face is this red, don't you have to take responsibility? Thanhin was stunned for a moment. Seeing the handprint on my face that matched her hand perfectly, she couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I was trying to hold it in, but I really couldn't. This handprint looks so funny. My mouth twitched and I took another step forward. And you slept with me last night, don't you have to take responsibility? What do you mean I slept with you? Thanhin's eyes widened. I didn't even move last night, and you call that sleeping with you. But then she laughed playfully. Slept then slept, we're innocent, we didn't do anything, so why should I take responsibility? She looked up at me again. Besides, you're a freshman now, and I'm a sophomore. Call me senior and let me hear it. Call you senior. I was stunned for a moment, and my expression immediately became strange. A handsome man and a beautiful woman in the same room, calling her senior is a bit too exciting, isn't it? The next moment, I suddenly had a mischievous idea and directly walked towards Thanhin step by step, cornering her at the sink. Senior, do you know that your actions right now make people want to commit a crime? Thanhin was stunned for a second. Seeing me getting closer, she instinctively backed away, and finally found that there was nowhere to go. She stubbornly raised her head, her eyes panicked but trying to act calm, and said, what are you doing? Thanhin is nearly 1.75 meters tall, but in front of my 1.8 meter height, she still had to look up reluctantly. I directly lowered my head and met her bright eyes. In the current situation, Thanhin's small stubbornness became even more adorable. In the end, I directly bent down and leaned close to Thanhin's ear, gently breathing out a warm breath. 3 years. Even if I die, it's worth it. Don't do anything funny. Thanhin tried to retreat a little more, but I was already too close, so close that she could even smell the unique scent on my body. I'm sure it was on purpose. I smiled slightly and slowly approached Thanhin's face. What if I insist on doing something funny? You hooligan. Thanhin immediately tensed up and closed her eyes, her heart beating faster. No way, is he going to kiss me? If he kisses me, should I resist or what? In the end, she held her breath nervously. Forget it, A kiss is a kiss, it's not like I'm going to die. But she was a little scared. What if he wants to do something else after the kiss? Should she agree or not? But the next second, I suddenly smiled and flicked her forehead lightly with my finger. Silly girl, if I really wanted to do something funny, do you think you could still be standing here in one piece? Then slowly opened her eyes, standing here in one piece. What does that mean? But then her cheeks immediately blushed, and she cursed in her heart, you hooligan. I walked past him, opened the toiletries on the sink, took out a toothbrush, squeezed out some toothpaste and conveniently took the gargle cup next to it, and filled it with water. After preparing everything, I handed the toothbrush to him. Brush your teeth first. After you're done, I'll take you to lunch. After lunch, we'll go back to school together. Him reacted a half beat later, nodded, took the toothbrush from my hand, and quietly started brushing her teeth. I continued, but before we eat, you have to help me with one thing. Him was stunned again. What else do you want to do? Go down to the convenience store downstairs, and buy me a mask. I guess this handprint won't go away for a few hours. How can I go out and see people without a mask? Haha, that's true. Him couldn't help but laugh. I'll definitely buy you a handsome and eye-catching mask later for you to wear. I gave him a helpless look, then indulgently rubbed her head. Alright, go brush your teeth. After speaking, I turned and left the bathroom. Him stood where she was. He touched my head again just now. But the next moment, she puffed up her cheeks and pouted. Is that all? I even thought about letting him kiss me, just one kiss, and you didn't do anything. What a waste of emotions. Are you even a man? Him immediately gritted her teeth, placed the gargle cup on the sink, and angrily brushed her teeth alone. When Him finished brushing her teeth and came out, seeing her sullen expression, I immediately wondered, what's wrong with you? Why the long face? Who made you angry? Weren't you fine just now? Nothing. Him pouted, then took her phone and turned to walk out of the room. Where are you going? To buy you a mask, where else? You're so silly. When Him came back, I had also finished cleaning up. Seeing the two masks in Him's hand, I was immediately surprised and asked, why did you buy two masks? Is one not enough? He felt like it. Him pouted, put on a black mask herself, and then handed the other one to me. Put it on. It's barely enough to cover the handprint. I gave him a deep look, took the mask and put it on, then asked, what do you want to eat for lunch? Anything is fine. You can't say anything is fine. You choose. Then guess what I'm going to take you to eat later. Hot pot. You guessed it. Outside the hotel, after I and then left the hotel, we simply found a hot pot restaurant for a meal. Then, the two of us waited for a bus to go back to school. On the bus, Than immediately took the seat by the window. I naturally sat next to her, then took out my phone and casually took out a pair of earphones from my pocket. After plugging the earphones into my phone, I handed one earphone to Than. Want to listen to music? Okay. Than nodded, but before she could react, I had already taken the earphone from her, stood up from my seat, walked around to the front of Than, and seriously put the earphone in her left ear. Seeing me so close, Than's heart beat faster unconsciously. You. What are you doing so close to me? Putting on your earphone for you, what else? He said with a smile. Why not the right side? Because I'm holding the left one. He said playfully. After putting the earphone on for Than, I sat back in my seat with an innocent expression. If you don't think the left side is good, how about I switch it for you? No need. Than directly glared at me. On purpose, definitely on purpose. After a few seconds of silence on the bus, I asked again, the Mid-Autumn Festival is in a few days, are you going home? Than shook her head, no, it's only a 3-day holiday, it's too tiring to go back and forth. After speaking, Than sighed again. What a pity, this is the second Mid-Autumn Festival in college that I haven't been home for. I really want to go see the fireworks display at Zhuangjiao. In their hometown, they have a tourist attraction, which is a small island formed in the middle of a large river due to swirling currents and gradual deposition, which has become a tourist spot. During holidays, especially major ones like the Mid-Autumn Festival, after obtaining permission from the management of the Zhuangjiao scenic area, a fireworks display will be held on the island. But since coming to the capital, where fireworks are banned in the inner city, she hasn't seen fireworks for a long time. You really want to see it? I tilted my head and asked. Speaking of which, since joining the Chinese Academy of Sciences and leaving Hunan, I haven't seen the fireworks at Zhuangjiao in Hunan for a long time either. Just a little, Than replied perfunctorily. But it's just a thought. Fireworks are not allowed in the capital. He smiled mysteriously. That's not necessarily true. How do you know? How about we make a bet? What do you want to bet? I said playfully, if there are fireworks on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival, you kiss me, okay? And if not, then I'll kiss you. That way, you won't lose out, right? Then directly glared at me, only a fool would make a bet with you. After returning to school, I went with Then to buy food for her roommate and then took her back to the dormitory. When I got back to my dormitory, Ding and the others still hadn't returned. It was clear that they had also booked a room to sleep outside last night. On the other side, in the female dormitory, since Then and her friends had no classes in the morning, they didn't go to the lecture hall. Ki was resting, while the other two had gone to the school library to read. Then was looking at the stock market. This was also one of the reasons why she was so popular with the professors at Jiangshan University. She had an extremely strong sensitivity in the financial field. In her freshman year alone, she used the 200,000 yuan her family gave her to start, and earned 300,000 yuan, a return rate of nearly 150. But just then, next to the computer screen she was logged into, an email suddenly popped up. Seeing this email, Then was first stunned, then quickly moved the mouse and clicked on it. This was an email from the main office of Jiangshan University. No way, is this real or fake? Then quickly skimmed through the contents of the email and immediately screamed with joy in the dormitory. Oh my god, is this real or fake? Professor Zhang wants to accept me as a direct student. The Professor Zhang she mentioned was a famous finance professor at Jiangshan University, and one of the few professors with a reputation in the domestic economic field. He even participated in the drafting of laws related to the economic field. Originally, she also intended to take the postgraduate entrance examination for this professor. She didn't expect to be exempted from the examination this time, and directly enter the direct program. As long as she finished her undergraduate studies, she could immediately study for FT with him. Then, she immediately took out her phone and quickly sent a message to me. Junvan, Professor Zhang Chunlan of our academy wants to accept me as a direct student. He is a professor with a reputation in the domestic economic field. Q also came over and looked at Then in surprise, asking, Then, the Professor Zhang you mentioned isn't the old professor of economics who talked to you before and welcomed you to take his postgraduate entrance examination, is he? In their academy, there were almost no students studying economics, related majors who had not heard of this old professor's name. Then nodded vigorously, then smiled brightly, quickly called the other two back. I'm treating us to a meal out for lunch today. Once she becomes a disciple of Professor Zhang, not to mention anything else, in the future, as long as she works in the financial and economic field, even if it is a top domestic company, if she goes to work there, they will have to show her some respect. Seeing that he still hadn't replied to the message, Then sent another one. What are you doing? Seeing the message, I smiled. Why, you miss me after just one day apart? No, I don't. Then replied immediately. I smiled, then to celebrate this good news, do you have to treat me to a meal for lunch today? Shouldn't you be treating me? In the dormitory, Then was both amused and annoyed. Then she sent another message, but I'm not free for lunch today. I was stunned. So busy. You don't even have time to eat together. Then replied again, I have to treat my roommates to lunch today. Maybe in the evening. In the evening, the sunset in the sky gradually faded, dyeing a streak of the horizon a reddish, orange color. I stood quietly under Then dormitory and waited for a while. Then, Then, wearing a long white dress, skipped down the dormitory stairs. Finally she stood firmly in front of me and asked with a smile, have you been waiting long? I shook my head, no, I just arrived too. Then I smiled and asked, have you thought about what you want to eat tonight? Then wrinkled her cute little nose, let's go to the canteen. I heard that canteen no. 2 has a very delicious spicy fried mushroom stall. I haven't tried it yet. No problem. I nodded slightly and then led Then towards canteen no. 2 of the school. Then walked silently beside me, looking at my handsome face from the side, her heart thumping again. Should I tell him? I was so happy when I received the news at noon. I was skipping on the road and almost fell. On the way, I met the ugly stray cat of the school. In advanced mathematics class, while solving problems, I suddenly laughed and was stared at by that stubborn old professor several times. But when I stood next to him, I suddenly felt that even the evening breeze today was gentler. At this moment, I suddenly turned my head and looked at Then meaningfully. You've been secretly looking at me for so long. Have you seen enough? What are you looking at? Then immediately blushed a little. Oh no, he found out again. Then she quickly shook her head. What am I looking at? I wasn't looking at you. Do you have to be so narcissistic? I didn't say anything, just looked at Then meaningfully for a long time. Finally, Then couldn't stand it anymore and asked with a red face and a tense expression, why are you staring at me like that? Because you're beautiful. I was lost in thought while looking at you. Then frowned, you. Do you have to be so flirtatious? I can't take it anymore. After giving me a look, Then quickly ran forward, I'm too lazy to pay attention to you. Hurry up and let's go eat. The next day on the evening of the Mid-Autumn Festival, 800 BIM. In the female dormitory, Q was boredly scrolling through short videos on her phone, then suddenly looked up at Thenhin and said, "Thenhin, I'm so bored. Let's go out for a walk." As a result, before Thenhin could say anything, another girl in the dormitory laughed. "What's there to walk around for? Don't you know that all holidays have become occasions for couples to show their affection? It's so late, are we going out to be a third wheel?" The other person also nodded repeatedly. Right. I'm not going. Out of sight, out of mind. Thenhin's sight, if you don't want to go, then don't. Why do you seem so unhappy? Are you homesick? Thamkyu asked with some surprise. Not really. Thenhin pouted, and then looked down at her phone again. I sent him a good morning message this morning, and he didn't even send a happy mid-autumn festival greeting. I still don't know where he went or what he's doing. You bad man, can't you send me a message? In the laboratory, I wiped the sweat from my forehead, and looked up at the dense array of palm-sized drones in front of me. Each drone was equipped with multicolored LED lights. After wiping my sweat, I opened my mouth and said to Xuanwu, check the connection of these devices. Yes, sir. The next second, all the LED lights on the drones in front of me lit up in sequence. Seeing this, I nodded with satisfaction. Very good. Xuanwu, start the fireworks program. Location, the school stadium. Next, the small drones lying quietly on the laboratory floor flew up one by one. Under Xuanwu's control, they flew out of the laboratory window, formed a long line, and quickly flew towards the school stadium. As for me, I picked up my phone and quickly made a WeChat video call to Thenhin. The call was connected immediately, and Thenhin's clear voice came through. Mr. Jungthan, what's the matter? He smiled. Go to the balcony of your dormitory and take a look. The balcony. Thenhin was stunned. He hasn't messaged me all day, and now he's telling me to go to the balcony. However, she still took her phone and walked to the balcony of the dormitory. The location of their dormitory balcony offered a panoramic view of the stadium. I asked, are you there yet? Thenhin nodded. Yes, I'm here. Look up at the sky. Thenhin was a little dazed. However, the next second, she was completely stunned. At the stadium, exactly 500 small black drones gathered in one place, and then began to quickly fly up into the sky at the same time. Until all the drones disappeared into the night. First a small bright spot appeared in the center, then the lights from countless drones quickly spread out around it like a myriad of stars, looking like a blooming firework. Moreover, these fireworks continuously arranged and combined in the sky, transforming into new firework shapes. Did you do all this? Aside, yeah, it took me all day. I really didn't expect these 500 drones to be so difficult to control. Thenhin suddenly smiled. Wait a minute, let me make a wish. What do you want to wish for? You guess. He smiled. I can't guess. I'm sure you're not wishing for me to live a long life. What if my wish is really related to you? I was stunned for a moment. Then Thenhin slowly said to me over the phone, Jungthan, let's meet. Right now. He still hadn't recovered from what Thenhin said, and was dazed for a long time. Okay, where's the stadium? Chen Chao, and the others also ran out of the dormitory. Whoa, Mantame, this drone light show is beautiful. If someone put on a firework show like this for me, I would definitely marry them. This is our school again. I wonder which rich guy is trying to win over his girlfriend. I'm so jealous. Oh my god, so romantic. Then they saw Su Qinghan about to leave. Chen Chao turned and asked, Qinghan, where are you going? Out. Su Qinghan didn't explain much and quickly left the dormitory. On the other side, I also quickly arrived at the stadium. The street lights on both sides of the stadium were still on. The lawn was filled with all kinds of couples, and there were also lively social gatherings between the male and female dormitories. The school's music club was also performing, making it very bustling. And I also met Su Qinghan, who was waiting for me at the appointed place. Then I quickly ran up to Su Qinghan. Sorry, have you been waiting long? Not long, I just arrived too. Su Qinghan shook her head, then sat down on an empty spot on the stadium lawn, smiling and waving at me. Come sit here. I slowly sat down next to Su Qinghan. A gentle breeze blew by, and I could even smell a faint fragrance from Su Qinghan. Su Qinghan smiled brightly. Close your eyes. Are you going to fulfill your promise? He smiled. Close your eyes, Su Qinghan immediately said coquettishly. He smiled and closed my eyes. Su Qinghan hesitated for a few seconds, then quickly leaned forward and gave me a light, dragonfly-like kiss on the cheek. The next second, I suddenly opened my eyes. Su Qinghan was a little embarrassed. Don't get the wrong idea. This is just to fulfill the promise on the bus that day, it doesn't mean anything else. I smiled. Is it really just to fulfill the promise? What else do you want? Su Qinghan pouted arrogantly. I directly reached out, and pulled the seated Su Qinghan into my arms. Under the dim light, our eyes quickly met. Su Qinghan was tense. What are you doing? Do you know a saying? My gaze on Su Qinghan gradually became heated. Courtesy demands reciprocity. Su Qinghan's heart suddenly thumped. So, you kissed me, I have to kiss you back. The next second, before Su Qinghan could react, I directly covered her mouth. Su Kinghan's mind immediately went blank. You're not playing by the rules, you launched a sneak attack. A moment later, Su Kinghan, blushing, escaped from my arms and glared at me shyly. You villain. A man who isn't bad, a woman doesn't love. I shrugged and then looked at Su Kinghan with a smile. Hey, did you hear what I said just now? Which sentence? Su Kinghan started to play dumb. I like you. I didn't hear it. Su Kinghan smiled. Say it again. I like you. Su Kinghan smiled. Why didn't I know? How long have you liked me? I reached out and pulled Su Kinghan into my arms again, saying gently, I don't know either. It was like 1,000 years in a single glance. So you consider this a confession? Su Kinghan naturally leaned against my chest, and then wrinkled her cute little nose. I feel like if I agree to you right away, it's a bit of a loss. So, say a few more sweet words. Maybe if I'm happy, I'll agree. What do you want to hear? I'll listen to whatever you say. I thought for a few seconds, looked up at the sparkling stars in the sky, and said slowly, you know, the universe was formed from the Big Bang. Su Kinghan nodded, yeah, I know. So, every atom in your body comes from stars that have exploded. The atoms that make up your left hand might come from a different star than the atoms that make up your right hand. The atoms that make up a strand of your hair could also come from billions of different stars. Su Kinghan tilted her head slightly. So what? You are all my stars. On Tuesday afternoon, after class, I took my phone out of my pocket, and looked at the time. It was almost 1200 noon. I opened social media again, and saw a picture Su Kinghan had posted 2 hours ago. Her roommate was leaning against the goalpost next to the school stadium, sunbathing, with the caption, the sun is so nice today. Seeing this, I hesitated for a few seconds, then clicked on Su Kinghan's profile picture, and sent a message. I think the dress you wore this morning is very beautiful. I want to invite her to eat. If it's convenient, you can come along too. Since that Mid-Autumn Festival night, Su Kinghan had been avoiding me for the past 2 days, saying she needed to think for 2 more days before giving me an answer. She declined all other chat topics. A few seconds later, Su Kinghan replied, I don't think she's available. She went shopping with her lovely, ethereal owner. He smiled, still going shopping with her. It wasn't until 900 p.m. that I returned to school with Su Kinghan and the others. Because Shen Kao and the others were with us, Su Kinghan didn't let me walk her back to the dormitory, but went back with Shen Kao and everyone else. I returned to my own dormitory. As soon as I opened the door, Shu Xiam and the others immediately dropped everything they were doing and sat in a row on their chairs. Big brother, start teaching. You can even charge a fee. Let us learn from you. I was stunned. What are you guys doing? Listening to your lecture. What else? Xu Mingdong had a look of admiration on his face. How long has it been since school started, and you've already conquered the most difficult school bell? We've been good brothers for so many years. Aren't you going to pass on your secrets to us? Liu Yu and Xu Xiam also chimed in. That's right, third brother, don't be stingy with your techniques. The 3 of us are still single. Aren't you going to teach us a few tricks? It's very simple. I laughed. So that's why you suddenly want to listen to a lecture. Then I looked at the 3 of them and said, actually, there are no techniques. It's mainly based on looks. To be honest, she's just obsessed with my body. The 3 of them immediately glared at me. Get lost. Shameless. Damn, third brother, your skin is so thick. Late at night, after taking a shower, I sat down at my desk and picked up my phone. I saw a message from Su Kinghan sent a few minutes ago. What are you doing? I smiled and quickly replied, just finished showering, preparing to study some materials. On the other side, Su Kinghan immediately replied, oh, then you go ahead and get busy. I won't bother you. Good luck. After sending this message, she even sent a good luck emoji. Seeing this, I immediately smiled and replied on my phone, it's okay, I can reply to you. After sending the message, I opened the computer on my desk, logged into chat, and then clicked on the Xuanwu icon on the screen. Because Xuanwu's data code has been uploaded to the network, it doesn't need any server as a carrier and exists permanently on the internet. Simply put, all the computers in the world can be combined to serve as its server, greatly increasing its computing power. Now on my computer is just a connection port for Xuanwu. In the girls' dormitory, when Su Kinghan saw my reply, the corners of her mouth immediately lifted slightly. She replied, no need, I'll just read a book. After sending the message, she put her phone aside. She would not use the name of love to bind me here. I could do whatever I wanted. She only hoped that before I did anything, I would think of her. That was enough. Because she knew that the boy she liked would surely become a radiant sun in the future. Fortunately, she was the one I favored. What comes slowly is sincere. So let's take it slow, and one day, they will sit on the same sofa, read the same book, and watch the same movie. On this side, when I saw the message Su Kinghan sent, a faint smile appeared on the corner of my mouth. No need to be together every day, just keep in touch. You know I won't leave, I know you won't change. Each busy with their own things, still thinking of each other. This is probably the most ideal state of love. A moment later, I sent Su Qinghan a message. I miss you. She replied almost immediately. You finished your work so quickly. You're busy looking up materials and can still reply to messages right away. No, I slowly replied, I just suddenly missed you. How much do you miss me? In the dormitory, Su Qinghan smiled. I picked up my phone, looked at the chat screen, hesitated for a moment, and typed a period. A minute later, Su Qinghan sent another message. Where did you go? Why did you suddenly disappear? I quickly replied, I'm still here. Then I smiled and sent a paragraph of text. I was just thinking about how to answer your question, but maybe my writing skills are not good enough. I really can't think of any better words to describe it. Sorry, but I really did think about you for a minute just now. The next moment, the time on the phone passed. It was now 1 minute and 1 second. How can this person be like this? Su Qinghan, sitting in the dormitory, couldn't take it anymore. Did I suddenly become smart? How can he be so good at flirting? I can't stand it, I can't stand it. Chen Chao and the others curiously shifted their gazes from the news on Weibo to Su Qinghan. What's wrong? What's wrong? Did something big happen? Nothing, nothing. Su Qinghan smiled and shook her head. Chen Chao and the others all glared at her. The corners of your mouth are already smiling up to the sky. Do you think I'd believe you? After chatting with me for a few sentences, she looked at the time on her phone. It was almost 11 o'clock. Su Qinghan immediately smiled and sent a message. When can we sleep? I was immediately stunned. Sleep? What do you mean? We just got together and you're already talking about this exciting stuff. Trying to hold back my laughter, I couldn't. Taking a deep breath, I quickly replied, are you sure? Once you sleep, you have to be responsible. I may not take money, but you have to be responsible for a lifetime. Su Qinghan was a little dumbfounded and quickly sent a few question marks, then quickly sent another message. Jian Shen, what do you mean? I'm talking about when you can go to sleep, understand? I'm about to go to sleep, not that I want to sleep with you, understand? After sending it, Su Qinghan couldn't help but laugh again. We've only been together for a short time and you're already showing your true colors. Then she smiled and sent another message. It's over, you're exposed. Tell me quickly, are you with me just for my body? You're too naughty. I laughed. To be honest, if I love you but can't touch your body, then we might as well just be sworn brothers. When Su Qinghan saw this message, she was immediately stunned, her cheeks blushing. Actually, what he said was not without reason. But then she quickly shook her head. Su Qinghan, what are you thinking? Why are your thoughts so impure? Then she replied, then I'll go out tonight. My heart skipped a beat. Really or not? In your dreams. Su Qinghan sat on the chair and jiggled, quickly replying, let's talk about this later. When you serve this humble one well, this humble one will reward you. As you wish. The next day, I was having breakfast with Su Qinghan in the cafeteria. As soon as I looked up, I saw Su Qinghan opposite me staring into my eyes. Seeing my focused gaze, Su Qinghan picked up a steamed bun from in front of her, smiled, and brought it to my mouth. Open your mouth. A reward of a steamed bun for you. Of course, I didn't refuse, and ate the steamed bun Su Qinghan offered in one bite. But the next second, I felt a chill on my back. It was early in the morning, and there were quite a few students eating in the cafeteria, and Su Qinghan was particularly eye-catching. Seeing this scene, countless male students looked at me, sitting opposite Su Qinghan, with resentful eyes. You beast, you actually got fed a steamed bun by the goddess Lin. Doesn't this guy have hands? He even needs a girl to feed him. I'm different, I have hands. If it really doesn't work, can't you just rent a room? You came to the cafeteria to show off. You've conquered her, you're really a scumbag. In a corner of the cafeteria, Song Jingnian was sitting with a male student at a dining table. Looking at Su Qinghan and me being affectionate, his eyes were immediately filled with pain. The male student sitting opposite him immediately comforted him. It's okay. That kid who's in love with Su Qinghan, I've already investigated him thoroughly. He's just a first-year male student from the financial management department of our school. You're the future president of the student union, and I'm the head of the dormitory management department. Can't we deal with a freshman? Song Jingnian glared coldly at the male student, then sighed, forget it, don't do anything reckless. I'll wait for her. As long as we're not married, I'll always wait for her. The male student looked upset. Do you have to be like this for a girl? Actually, sometimes you can also look at the people around you. The people around me. Song Jingnian was stunned. Who are you talking about? The male student took a deep breath. A few years ago, I wasn't. I've always liked women. Until I entered university and met you. You're very outstanding. I admire you very much. I gradually started to care about you. Now in my eyes, I feel that no one is more important than you. For you, I could even die. After speaking, the male student looked at Song Jingnian with anticipation. Do you understand what I'm saying? The corner of Song Jingnian's mouth twitched. I probably understand everything. Just probably, not completely. But I'm a normal person. So can we still be friends in the future? The male student seemed unwilling. Let's talk about this later. Sung Dinian tried to suppress the twitching on his face. But in the future, even if you beat me to death, I won't go to the shower with you again. On this side, as I was about to finish the steamed bun, Sukinghan immediately smiled and looked up, asking, do you have any plans this afternoon? What's up? A asked. Nothing much. Sukinghan smiled, but I don't have class this afternoon. And a good movie just came out recently, so I wanted to ask you to go to the movies with me. Then she added, but if you're busy, you don't have to go with me. Oh. I thought for a few seconds, how many people? Of course it's just the two of us. I nodded lightly. If it's just the two of us, I can leave at 1200 noon. Then we can also go for hot pot. No problem. After breakfast, Sukinghan went to class. I brought a few breakfast portions bought from the cafeteria back to the dormitory. Pushing open the door, Xu Xian and the others were also awake. Zhen Jia was brushing his teeth by the sink on the balcony. A immediately said, sons, Dad is back. Zhu Mingdong quickly finished brushing his teeth and replied directly, Dad, I love you the most. I waved the breakfast portion in my hand. Zhu Mingdong immediately ran up to me, Dad, I love you the most. This is probably an important reason why male dormitories are often more harmonious than female dormitories. There are no grudges between father and son that last overnight. Because they didn't have class in the morning, after breakfast, Xu Xiang started calling his friends, hurry up, brothers, let's get online. I'm really good with Yazhou. Zhu Mingdong and Wu Yu glared at him, you're Yazhou. It's not that I'm saying, but last night's high ground push, if it wasn't for your mistake, we would have won, right? Liu Yu nodded in agreement, that's right. That last game last night, how great was my contribution? The lane management was so good, but we still lost in the end. We were defeated. After Big Brother finished speaking, Liu Yu asked me again, third brother, what's wrong? Do you want to play a few games with us? You guys play. I smiled faintly, I'm not very good at this game. Don't ruin your match. I then got up and left the dormitory. After waiting for a few minutes at the entrance of the male dormitory, Su Qinghan, wearing another beautiful little dress, skipped over to me, smiling and looking up. Alright, shall we go out to eat? I nodded lightly. Then I directly hailed a taxi at the school gate, and went straight to the city center of the capital. Su Qinghan bought the tickets in advance. I led her into a hot pot restaurant, and sat down. Su Qinghan called the waiter over to order, and just ordered a few dishes like beef to go with the hot pot. When the waiter left, Su Qinghan immediately tilted her head to look at the waitress and exclaimed, her lipstick is so pretty. Isn't it all red? I was a little curious. Actually, I've never understood how girls can recognize so many lipstick colors. Orange red, menstrual red, tomato red. Oh my god, in my eyes, they're all the same color. Well, I don't understand how you boys know so many Ultramans either. Su Qinghan smiled, how about I test you? Guess what color lipstick I'm wearing today? I can't guess. I gave up directly. Su Qinghan jiggled, the waitress, and I are wearing the same color lipstick. Isn't that great? It's there 999. You know, this color is really popular right now. When it comes to cosmetics, she's indeed very knowledgeable. The corner of my mouth twitched, you can even tell that. Su Qinghan nodded proudly, if you don't believe me, we can ask her when she brings the food over later. Very quickly, the waitress brought over a few plates of rolled beef. After she placed the food and was about to leave, Su Qinghan called her over and asked, Miss, is your lipstick Dyer 999? Ah, yes, it's Dyer 999, the waitress nodded. Su Qinghan immediately looked at me triumphantly and smiled, see? I told you so, and you didn't believe me. I looked up at the waitress, then back at Su Qinghan in front of me, puzzled. But that's not quite right. Her color is a bit darker, while the color on your lips seems lighter. Hearing this, Su Qinghan directly glared at me, who's the one who made it fade? Who was being dishonest in the tax just now? I hesitated for a few seconds and immediately nodded indulgently with a smile, I did it. The waitress said, you too, I'm just here to bring the food. There's no need to be like this. When the waitress left, Su Qinghan couldn't help but laugh, haha, Jian Shen, you're so naughty. Nee. How so? I felt a little dumbfounded. Just now, the look in her eyes was almost enough to swallow us whole. Could it be that she doesn't have a boyfriend? I asked back. Su Qinghan glanced at me. This man is hopeless. After the two of them finished their hot pot, Su Qinghan took me to a nearby movie theater. As soon as I entered the theater, my expression was a little nostalgic. This was the first time I had been in a movie theater in 3 years, and next to me was Su Qinghan. It's been a while, hasn't it? Su Qinghan smiled and tilted her head to look at me. Yeah, I sighed. I remember the last time I came here was in high school. It feels like a lifetime ago. At that time, they had just entered their junior year of high school. During the summer vacation, they went to the cinema with a few close friends from high school. It was also during that summer vacation that I joined the Chinese Academy of Sciences and began my 3-year journey of scientific research in the Mobi region. Thinking back now, if I had known that would be the last time in 3 years I would watch a movie with Su Qinghan, I should have dressed up a little nicer that day. Then let's relive the old memories. Su Qinghan smiled and took my hand, quickly walking towards the ticket counter. The luckiest thing was probably that 3 years ago, she had sat in the same classroom with me, dreaming together about what the future would be like after the college entrance examination. And now, she and I are still walking side by side towards our future. Although there was a 3-year gap between them, in the future, they would have another 3 years, 13 years, or even 30 years. And in the time to come, we will always hold hands and move towards our future together. Because they arrived at the cinema quite early, after sitting down on the sofa in the waiting area, Su Qinghan curled up in my arms, smiled, and looked up, asking, "Jiang Shen, did you like me 3 years ago?" "You could say that," I smiled. Su Qinghan pouted. "Why do you say I could say that? You're being too perfunctory." I slowly shook my head, because at that time, it was really love at first sight. Su Qinghan continued to ask, "Then why didn't you tell me at that time? What if at that time, we couldn't even be friends? I would have definitely agreed to you." Su Qinghan smiled, then wrinkled her cute little nose and glared at me. "But love at first sight is usually because you see someone beautiful, and have ideas. So you admit that you had ideas about me the first time you saw me, right? What kind of logic is that?" I stroked Su Qinghan's smooth hair and said gently, "In my opinion, love at first sight is the soul recognizing its other half. Therefore, it is the attraction of the soul, the resonance of ideas. In terms of physics, it is quantum entanglement." "What is quantum entanglement?" Su Qinghan was a little confused, but she didn't ask any further. She just hugged me tightly with both hands and jiggled, "So good, why don't you go write a book?" I seriously thought for a few seconds, if I have time in the future, it's not impossible to consider writing a book. Su Qinghan was stunned. "I was just kidding, and you're being so serious. Do you really want to write a book?" But then she couldn't help but laugh. "So I was once a secret in your heart." I bowed my head slightly. "What are you laughing at?" "I just want to laugh." Su Qinghan made a face at me. Then she asked curiously, "But why do you like me?" "I have a bad temper, I'm very possessive, and I often say one thing and mean another. Let me tell you, I'm really, really jealous. But in the future, if I'm jealous, I definitely won't want to bother you with such things. I'll be sad all by myself until I die. But I'm really very narrow-minded. If it's mine, others are not allowed to like it. Although he is really handsome, I'm not that bad either. Moreover, in the future, he will become more and more outstanding, and may even meet someone better than me. At that time, what will happen between them?" Thinking of this, the long eyelashes on Su Qinghan's eyes trembled slightly. "Will you still like me like this? You are too outstanding, so outstanding that his bright spots become dim in front of you." "Of course, I still like you," I replied without hesitation. "What's the reason?" Su Qinghan continued to ask. "Things that have been decided in the heart cannot be spoken with the mouth." I looked at Su Qinghan gently. "Of course, if you want to hear it, there can be reasons. For example, you are smart, you are pure, kind, and cute. But I just thought of all the words used to praise. These simple words cannot fully summarize the reason why I am with you. However, I also know the main reason. It is probably because you completely suit my preferences. Therefore, you can also understand it as me being selfish and wanting to keep you by my side for my own desires. Therefore, you don't need to feel that my love is a burden to you, and you should even be grateful. The person I like is you, and only you. Therefore, in front of me, if you don't want to grow up, then don't grow up. If you don't want to be proactive, you don't have to be. It's okay to be nervous or shy. It's not a problem to say one thing and mean another. Anyway, I'm responsible for understanding you." Su Qinghan's heart immediately thumped. "Oh my god, what is this man saying? It's so sweet, it's killing me. If it weren't for the fact that we went to the same high school and I know this guy is in love for the first time, I would have almost thought he was some kind of player who has been through 100 battles. What girl could resist this?" Taking a deep breath, she looked at me with a bright smile and asked, "Then how long will you like me?" I tilted my head slightly and thought for a few seconds, then said, "If you're willing to listen to me say these nonsensical words forever, then I'll like you forever." After speaking, I lowered my head again and asked back, "What about you? How long will you like me?" "Me?" Su Qinghan curled up in my arms, shook her cute little head, blinked, and then looked up and said, "This answer is too long. To put it simply, let me ask you, how long can you live?" After speaking, Su Qinghan snuggled into my arms again. "Mr. Jian, do you know? No amount of time with you is enough." I couldn't help but smile. "Then I can probably live for a very, very long time." "Then you just wait slowly." Su Qinghan smiled playfully. "Let me tell you, in the future, you are not allowed to be nice to other girls. I will be jealous, I will stomp my feet, and I will roll on the ground and demand you to hold me. Let's see what you do then." I smiled indulgently. I can agree to you, but you also have to agree to one thing for me. What is it? I held Su Qinghan tightly in front of me. In the future, when you are angry or jealous, don't push me away. And don't say nothing when I ask you what's wrong. Don't keep everything to yourself and be sad alone. And don't secretly deduct points from me in your heart. You just need to have me alone in your heart. No other unhappy things are allowed in there. Is that all? Su Qinghan raised her small head. That's all. Do you agree to me? Su Qinghan immediately smiled and directly threw herself on me, her chest pressed against mine, and she whispered in my ear. Listen and see if you can hear my heartbeat. I was immediately stunned. Smelling the pristine fragrance on Su Qinghan's body, along with the softness on her chest, the blood in my body immediately began to surge uncontrollably. Even my body stiffened a little. This is too sudden. Isn't this a little too exciting? After all, I'm just a boy close to 20 years old. How can I stand this? Suddenly, I didn't even know where to put my hands. At this moment, Su Qinghan blew a warm breath into my ear. Is my sound insulation too good? Otherwise, you would definitely be able to hear my heart beating like a drum. I gently stroked Su Qinghan's long, smooth hair with my hand. My dear Miss Su, I forgot to tell you just now, thank God for letting me meet you. I hope the person who stays by your side forever will be me. The two of us just curled up on the sofa in the cinema like that, resting for a while. It wasn't until it was almost time that Su Qinghan reluctantly lifted her head from my arms, looked at me with a radiant smile, and said, all right, it's almost time. Let's go check our tickets. I nodded lightly and gently held Su Qinghan's hand. After getting the tickets from the electronic ticket counter at the cinema, Su Qinghan pointed to the snack counter nearby. Junshen, I want to buy some popcorn. You know, I heard from Xiao Kao that the movie we're watching is really good. The rating online is very high. I looked down at the movie ticket in my hand. It was a romance movie. In my impression, domestic romance movies were just so, though. But looking at Su Qinghan's excited expression, I didn't say anything more and just said, okay, I'll take you to buy popcorn. When we got to the popcorn counter, I tilted my head and looked at Su Qinghan again. Can you drink cold drinks today? Su Qinghan was a little surprised. Yes, why? He smiled and nodded. Nothing, I was just asking. After speaking, I looked up at the popcorn seller and said with a smile, we'd like 2 cold Cokes and a large box of popcorn. That will be 54 yuan in total. The staff nodded slightly and started preparing popcorn for us. I suddenly smiled and looked at Su Qinghan next to me. If we don't have enough money, can we let her stay here and work? Hearing this, the staff who was preparing the popcorn immediately couldn't help but laugh. Su Qinghan, on the other hand, directly glared at me and skillfully pinched my waist a 180-degree turn. Say that again. I immediately took a sharp breath and then smiled at the staff. Haha, I have enough. You can continue. The staff was a little dazed. Why don't you two just go rent a room? After getting the popcorn and cold Coke, the two of them slowly walked into the screening room. Perhaps because the reviews were really good, even though the lights in the theater hadn't been turned off yet, there were already quite a few people sitting there. I led Su Qinghan to the double seat in the last row. Very quickly, the movie began. Along with the appearance of the familiar logo, the movie quickly began its main content. It can be considered a standard youth romance film, telling the story of innocent love in high school and passionate love in college. As soon as the movie started, Su Qinghan watched it with great concentration. I had just put my hand into the popcorn box when, in the next second, Su Qinghan also put her hand in. Their hands accidentally touched, and then Su Qinghan playfully stole the popcorn from my hand. I immediately turned my head. Are you stealing from me too? Su Qinghan immediately made a face at me. Other people's things taste better. Are you sure? He smiled with a hidden meaning. What are you going to do? Su Qinghan looked at me stubbornly. Let me tell you, I'm not afraid of you. I smiled even wider. Really not afraid? Not afraid. Su Qinghan was still stubborn. Then you just wait. I put down the popcorn and slowly began to move closer to Su Qinghan. Because it was a double seat, there was no partition between the two seats. Seeing me suddenly move closer, Su Qinghan was so scared that she covered her mouth and her whole body shrank on the seat. You, don't do anything rash. I smiled. You don't really think that coming to the cinema is just to watch a movie, do you? Don't mess around, there are cameras. I directly moved forward, pushed Su Qinghan's hand away, and quickly kissed her. It's okay, they usually don't watch us. A moment later, Su Qinghan, blushing, pushed me away and stammered, glaring at me, hey, where did you put your hand just now? If it weren't for the fact that the cinema was quite dark, you could have seen that her face was so red it was about to bleed. I coughed dryly. My hand has to be somewhere. You pervert. Su Qinghan cursed me through gritted teeth, then continued to glare at me and slowly asked, you villain, you said you weren't just after my body. And you even asked me if I could drink cold drinks just now. Tell me, did you have bad intentions today? I've always had bad intentions towards you. I made no attempt to hide it, and said with a slow smile, I've never said that I have no desire for you. From your hair to your fingertips, I want to possess all of you. Love is never a holy temple, but the 10-mile Yamju lamp that never stops. Too lazy to pay attention to you, I'm watching the movie. Su Qinghan directly glared at me. But the next second, her soft, white hand, like a small snake, wrapped around my fingertips. Nothing else happened in the middle. It was just that at the end, the director directly added a scene that was so moving that it made Su Qinghan's tears flow. Seeing this, I hurriedly took out the leftover tissue from when we ate hot pot. I looked at Su Qinghan helplessly and smiled. Come here. Look at you crying like this. Let me wipe your tears for you. You can still laugh. Su Qinghan said while crying. It's really touching. After speaking, Su Qinghan looked at me again. You said so many sweet things just now. Where are your sweet words now? Where did they go? I'm crying like this and you're not even comforting me. You're just standing on the side watching the show. You're too much. I was stunned. Does this also need comforting? After hesitating for a few seconds, I asked with some uncertainty, Ani, come here, let me lick your tears clean. Su Qinghan's tears immediately stopped. She looked at me with a ghostly expression and asked, what did you just say? Ani, come here, let me lick your tears clean. That. Su Qinghan immediately covered her mouth, but still couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then she quickly moved her face close to mine. Didn't anyone tell you? Sometimes you're really interesting. Haha, Ani, how did you think of that line? She really couldn't hold it in anymore. The moving scene ended, and the movie came to an end. The white lights in the cinema turned on. Countless people stood up from their seats one after another, and quickly left the screening room. I also held Su Qinghan's hand, and my other hand gently stroked her head. Alright, the movie is over. What do you want to eat? I'll take you to eat something delicious. Why do you suddenly want to buy food? Su Qinghan asked curiously, looking up. I continued, consider it a reward for you crying for a while and then stopping. Are you treating me like a 3-year-old? Su Qinghan thought for a few seconds, then I want to eat candied haws, and I want 2 sticks. If you want to eat 2 bunches, I'll buy them for you too. Leaving the cinema, the two of them went out to the main street. After looking around for a while, they quickly saw a street vendor with candied haws selling them everywhere on the other side of the street. But the street was full of traffic. Seeing this, I immediately stroked Su Qinghan's head. Be good and wait here. I'll go buy you candied haws. Okay. Su Qinghan nodded obediently. I quickly crossed the street and went up to the street vendor, immediately smiling and saying, Uncle, please pick 2 of the biggest and most delicious candied haws for me here. The vendor immediately smiled. Young man, let me tell you, all of my candied haws are big and delicious. Let me pick the 2 biggest ones for you. After speaking, he began to carefully select them. While he was choosing, I looked across the street and saw Su Qinghan waiting obediently, smiling at me. Buying candied haws to coax your girlfriend. Yes. I nodded lightly. Pearls, the more you coax them, the cuter they are. When the vendor had chosen 2 candied haws, wrapped them up, and handed them to me, I said, thank you, uncle. After paying and thanking him, I took the candied haws and crossed the street, quickly returning to Su Qinghan's side. What were you whispering to that uncle just now? Su Qinghan asked with a curious smile. I said that the gluttonous little girl from my family wants to eat candied haws. You're the glutton. Su Qinghan directly glared at me, then smiled and said, alright, then let's go back to school. I smiled, we just came out to watch a movie and we're already going back. What else? Su Qinghan asked back. Let's walk around for a bit more. We walked around until 11 o'clock at night and ate half of the snacks in the capital. Su Qinghan stood by the road and looked at me asking, can we go back now? I looked at the time on my phone, hesitated for a few seconds, and then reluctantly said, alright then. It's really not early anymore. I'll call a taxi. Su Qinghan smiled and started waving for a taxi by the roadside. I kept feeling like something was missing. Are we just going back like this? Su Qinghan's face immediately turned red. It's so late if we don't go back, what else do you want to do? I have class tomorrow morning. I was stunned and then explained, I was thinking how about we buy some food for your roommates? No, Su Qinghan shook her head, we're not buying any. If we buy more, we won't be able to get back to the dormitory in time tonight. Just as she finished speaking, a taxi arrived. It was very coincidental that it was the same taxi driver from when they left. Oh, it's you two again. What a coincidence. The driver looked at me and Su Qinghan and smiled. Going back to school? Yes. Su Qinghan nodded lightly. Su Qinghan and I immediately got into the car. Su Qinghan directly said, Sir, we have a curfew at 12 o'clock. Please drive a little faster. I hurriedly refused, safety first. It's okay to be a little slow. What are you trying to do? Su Qinghan directly blushed and glared at me. The driver laughed, haha, don't worry. When I was young, I drove in the army. My driving skills are excellent. After laughing, he nodded again, but what the young man said is also right. Safety first. After speaking, he directly stepped on the accelerator. When he dropped Su Kinghan off at the entrance of the girls' dormitory, because it was very late, there were only a few couples walking slowly in the night. I kept silently calculating something in my mind. Seeing that my mind was clearly not focused, Su Kinghan immediately asked curiously, "What's wrong? You don't look happy." At this moment, I suddenly looked up, speeding. That driver must have been speeding. A journey that should have taken 40 minutes, he drove in only 20 minutes to get to the school gate. He must have been speeding. Su Kinghan was first stunned, then couldn't help but laugh. "Don't tell me that from the school gate to the dormitory, you've been calculating this the whole time." "What else?" I asked back. "You come with me." Su Kinghan immediately smiled and took my hand, quickly running to a dark corner next to the dormitory. "What are you doing? Are you trying to scare me?" I looked around at the darkness, and the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curve up. "What else?" I looked around and directly spread my arms. "If you're going to molest me, then hurry up." Su Kinghan quickly came up to me, kissed me hard on the forehead, and then rubbed my face. "Don't be unhappy anymore." I smiled and pointed to my lips. "This also needs one." Su Kinghan immediately shook her head. "The doctor said that for a goodnight kiss, you can only kiss the forehead. Otherwise, children will easily get cavities." I smiled and stroked her head. After a moment of silence, Su Kinghan slowly looked up at me and said seriously, "Jian Shen, will you always be with me until we're old?" "Of course," I replied without thinking. "We will definitely love each other until we're 80. Why? At 81, do we have to fight?" I immediately shook my head and smiled. "I suddenly really want to go to 60 years later and see if I'm still with you. To see the answer, to see how many children we will have then, and whether we will go square dancing together. When our grandson and granddaughter ask how I pursued you back then, I will definitely tell them, no, it was your grandmother who pursued your grandfather first. Even when she was a child, she was cuter than you guys." I continued, "If at that time, those little kids refuse to brush their teeth, I will tell them, if you don't brush your teeth in the future, you will become a toothless old woman like your grandmother." You. Su Kinghan glared at me. "You're the toothless old woman. You're the toothless old man." I looked down at the beautiful face in front of me. At that moment, I could really hear the sound of a heartbeat. I very gently lifted her fair face and gently pinched her cute little nose. "Don't be coquettish anymore." "I won't." Su Kinghan was still unyielding. I smiled. "Don't be stubborn anymore. No matter how hard your mouth is, it's still soft when you kiss it." "How soft is it?" As soon as she finished speaking, I lowered my head and kissed her. I kissed her until her breathing was heavy, and then I slightly raised my head, looking at the contentedly smiling Su Kinghan in front of me with great affection. The corners of my mouth gradually lifted. Perhaps it was because I met someone lovely that I suddenly felt that life was no longer difficult. Whether it was the night wind or the cold wind, just thinking of her, I couldn't help but smile. The most wonderful thing in the world is to see the smile of the person in front of you. And what's even more wonderful is probably because that smile is because of you. My dear Miss Su, I will be as loyal to my feelings for you as I am to my country.